Let me feel your love again.
What is going on, Papa fam? It's your boy Papa React, and I am back with a banger, the Walmart clone, Next.js 14 today, and we're doing two things which I've never done on the channel before. Next.js 14 parallel routes and intercepting routes. So this is some complex stuff going on right now, guys. Let me know where you're watching from right now. I can see you guys blowing up the chat right now. We're gonna go ahead and dive into a demo in just a second. Somebody goes, I'm just here for Zustand. That's all good, dude. We've got React, Next.js, Oxylabs, Shadcn, TypeScript, Zustand, Tailwind CSS, and obviously we're gonna be deploying to Vercel. So tons of stuff to learn in today's video. Let me know where you're watching from right now, and we're gonna go ahead and jump into a quick demo of the application that you're gonna build today. My goal is 2 hours. We're gonna go ahead and crush this one. Papa fam's hitting worldwide levels. Let's go ahead and jump into today's video, the Walmart 2.0 clone. Thank you guys. Check it out. Boom. Here we go. Fully responsive. Oh, there we go. Sierra Leone, Pakistan, Czech Republic, India, Sri Lanka, UK, America. What's up, guys? Good to see you in the house. Let's go ahead and dive right in. We just hit 100 viewers live right now, which is sick. Welcome to the stream. This is the Walmart 2.0 clone. So first things first, we've got, oh, look at this. Mr. Frank is in the house. Can't wait for Sunny Martin React.js. There we go. It's going to be a Next.js, dude. But look at this, guys. We've got a fully responsive clone. Now, I want to show a couple of really big things in this, right? So first things first, we are scraping data, live data from the actual Walmart website, right? We're using Oxylabs to do this. So if I go ahead and click into Shop Wardrobe, you can see it's scraping from the Oxylabs server. So this is absolutely incredible. You're going to learn how to build your own web scraper, deploy it, and go ahead and do the exact same thing. So this is actually scraping data. So look at that, guys. Actually went ahead and scraped the data. You saw the loading state. So Next.js 14, we're doing all the latest and greatest stuff. And let's go ahead and click into one, for example. So if I go ahead and click into this right now, no idea what that is, but if we click it, you firstly saw there was a loading indicator. If we go ahead and click into another product with all the information, there we go. Look at this, guys. We've got beautiful carousels. Look at this, just absolutely stunning. And I want to show you something. Look at this, lovely tables. So we're utilizing a bunch of different components from Shadcn. So you're going to learn how to do all of those things. And of course, as I always do, it is fully responsive. You can see here for yourself. Now, here's the interesting part. We have intercepting and parallel routes. If you don't know what that is, it's a really, really cool concept in Next.js. So not only has your boy gone ahead and helped you out with the dynamic add to cart button. So look what happens when I click add to cart, boom, I can add items to my cart and I can go ahead and remove them. And it's all dynamic. So you're gonna learn how to do all of this. It's persistent. So even if I refresh, you will see that I still have 3 items in my basket. If I go up to the top, I've got 5 items. I added a couple before. If I go ahead and click this now, boom. Now, I want to show you something. Now, notice how the URL changed to /basket. Now, this is called a soft navigation. Now, if I was to refresh or directly go to the basket page, let's go ahead and refresh. Look what happens. We hit this page. So if I was to ever share this link with anyone and hit the /basket page, they see this. However, if you're navigating the website, you want to click on the basket and go back. See how we've got the same route handling 2 different interactions? That's so powerful, guys. So if you know, sometimes you don't want to throw them outside of a different window. So now we're going to go ahead and show you how you can go ahead and do this. And you see how it seamlessly layers on top? Absolutely incredible stuff, right? I'm going to show you how to do all of this, how to go ahead and, you know, handle the basket functionality, anything, get rid of things. Perfectly sums it all up. And of course, we can go ahead and search for items as well. If we type in Adidas, for example, this will scrape results for Adidas. And of course, in this build, I've utilized all of the best caching techniques, all of the greatest things that we can go ahead and use in Next.js is being used in this build. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down a little bit more for you guys so you can get an idea of how this is done. Firstly, this is not possible without the guys over at Oxylabs. So thanks to our sponsors today, Oxylabs, for this integration. So in this case, they're handling all of the scraping. And if you don't know who Oxylabs are, they're actually offering 30% off right now. And they are literally the industry leading web scraping solution. And they have the world's largest ethical proxy pool. Now, all that means essentially is it's just a bunch of computers which pretend they're humans. They go ahead and scrape websites, and they basically provide an API that makes the whole thing so easy to go ahead and access. They are the only ones who ethically propagate and scrape data responsibly. They have the biggest proxy pool that I've ever come across. They've got over 100 million different proxies that they use to go ahead and scrape data for you. They've got 24/7 customer support, and honestly, I've used them a bunch. Whenever I get stuck, they go ahead and sort me out, right? They've got a ton of different options for scrapers. They've got the e-commerce scraper API, which is what we're using today to scrape things like Walmart, and it actually returns structured data. So we don't get this nasty HTML document that we then have to manually go ahead and figure out what's going on. It gives it all back structured, so it makes it so simple. They've got a bunch of others called the SERP API, Web Scraper API, and even have a real estate API. So lots of stuff to go ahead and use here. A few things that I want to mention. You can gather data from some of the top 50 online marketplaces. For example, here we have Amazon, AliExpress, Best Buy, eBay, Etsy, Google Shopping, Home Depot, and the list goes on and on and on. They have a global coverage, so no matter where you are in the world, you can go ahead and use it right now. And you can retrieve that high quality data in not minutes, but seconds. So you saw how when I went ahead and refreshed it, it went ahead and searched for it, and that was so fast. If I refresh as well, you can go ahead and see yourself. It's gonna scrape the results. Right now I'm doing a Next.js developer mode render, so it's not caching, but as you can see, it works perfectly as I want it. Right? So if you're interested in going ahead and setting up your own scraper, then head over to the first link in the description to get yourself 30% off. All you need to use is the promo code proxy30, claim your deal, and get started with Oxylabs today. Okay, so I'm going to dive through how to use them, how to get everything done, and we're going to go ahead and crush today's build. Guys, we just hit over 200 people tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and quickly address some of the comments in the section right now. We've got Sierra Leone, we've got Gaza, we've got loads of people in the house, Kenya, Iran, UK, Egypt in the house, Nairobi, Kenya, loads of Kenyans in the house. That's absolutely awesome. And welcome to the stream, everyone. Frank is always an OG here. So guys, this is absolutely incredible. I'm going to answer a couple of questions as we get in. We've got Erin, beautiful. Hello, how are you doing? And yeah, guys, we're going to absolutely smash it today. So first thing, as I mentioned, we've got Next.js parallel routes. Now, you probably don't even know what the hell this is because it's fairly new and there's a lot of things that you need to learn about before you get this working. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down extremely simple, but effectively, you can go ahead and render sub parts of the page in the same directory or the same URL. So I'm going to make it so easy to understand this by the end of this video, but you're going to be able to go into your workplace and show them that you can use parallel routes and intercepting routes, which give you the functionality that I showed you earlier, which is this functionality. So you can go ahead and note, I want you to observe the URL here. If we go ahead and click the basket, boom, it changed to /basket, and then you can go ahead and see it right here. But if I was to refresh, you can now see the basket here. So the same URL, two different types of functionality. I don't think you understand how powerful that is. So we're gonna go ahead and build all of that out, and I'm gonna make sure at the end of this video, you're gonna be like mind blown. I'm gonna do that in every single build from now on. Okay, so without further ado, I think we should jump into it. I'm gonna have a quick little water break before we jump into this. Someone goes, Sonny, please do a multi-vendor e-commerce platform with Next.js 14. Done, I've already got that in the pipeline. And yeah, guys, we've got so much fun content coming. I've got literally huge collaborations with Microsoft and a bunch of other people coming. So your boy is coming out with some fire content. So do not worry, guys. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it right now. So first things first, I want you to go ahead and set up your desktop. Now, as I mentioned in all of my builds, if any of this is, overly confusing, if any of this becomes across like I don't know or I'm too dumb to do any of this, firstly, no, you're not. Right, you're perfectly in the right place. If you need support or you don't have the developer skill to understand what the hell is going on, then that's why we've created Zero to Full Stack Hero. You can go to the second link in the description, popup.react.com/course, and we will literally take you from zero skill all the way up until getting your first job and helping you go senior past that point. So no joke, we've completely tailor-made this for students to absolutely succeed from zero all the way to being a full stack hero, right? So it literally means you landing your first job, you becoming junior, mid, senior devs, and absolutely crushing it. We've got students who are absolutely killing it in our community. Go ahead and chat to some. We've got Gwen in the chat right now. So all of our Papa Fam students literally tune into our videos as well. But I highly recommend you at least go check it out. Check out the video for yourself, see some of our students, and join in if you find anything in today's video hard, because we cover all of this stuff, including intercepting and parallel routes, before I even touch it on YouTube. So there's so many things that we go ahead and cover. So keep on going. So as I mentioned before, guys, you can sign up free for Oxylabs as well. So make sure you get this signed up so we can go ahead and start the build together. This is live. Somebody asked. Right, so first things first, I want you to open up Warp. So open up your Warp browser or terminal. It really does not matter. And I want you to go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to go ahead and I always like to cd into my documents, my builds folder. And right now, yes, we are getting started with the build. So I'm going to go ahead and change the music up as well, because we want to get a little bit more focused, kind of bring the energy down so that way we can get into a bit of a flow state and we can go ahead and code. Now I am using something called create next. Oops. I'm going to use create next app latest. And as you can see, I use this a bunch. We're going to say Walmart clone, and I'm going to call it YouTube. Okay. Now what I want you to pay attention to is create next app at latest. This will use the latest template available from Next.js to go ahead and build our project out. Okay. So this means that we basically will go ahead and answer a couple of questions in the terminal, and then it will give us a perfect starter template. So this is why I always start my projects with this, and it goes ahead and helps us out. Somebody says, what's the IDE name? This is just Warp. So it's basically just a fancy terminal. Okay. Now I'm going to hit enter, and you're going to get a bunch of different questions. So the first question we're going to get is, would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. Everything here, actually, I'm going to hit enter because I want the defaults for the entire setup. Okay. So all of this is good right now. I'm reading some of your chat in the meantime. Somebody goes, I really love your project series. Love from India. Thank you so much. We've actually got a lot of new series coming. So that way we can go ahead and break it down into some smaller videos as well, because I know that a lot of you want to see smaller, more broken down videos and more concise sort of breakdown. So yeah, you do not need this terminal, by the way, the Warp terminal. You can use the regular terminal, and on Windows, you can use whatever you need to use. Okay. So at this point, we've also got a massive amount of viewers tuning in today. So smash the like button if you're watching, and subscribe if you haven't already, because this is going to absolutely help the video push out to as many people as possible. Let's go ahead and go into our Walmart clone. So cd Walmart clone, and I want to do -YouTube. There we go. And I'm going to type in code dot. Now, a lot of you always ask me or drop a comment in the sort of comment section saying, Sonny, the code dot doesn't work for me. Okay. So if that code dot does not work for you, what I need you to do is go into your VS Code, go ahead and do Command Shift P, and I want you to type in code. Okay. And what you'll see is install code insiders command in path. Right now, you'll see install code command in path. I use the beta version, hence mine is code insiders, right? But once you do that, you just have to close your terminal, restart your terminal, and that's how you do it. Okay, so at this point, we've got everything working here. Now, I do want to mention a quick little breakdown of this. This is not as simple as it looks, guys. This is actually a full grid UI. So right here, I just kind of briefly ran over that. Whoa, Frank goes, intercepting routes and parallel routes are absolutely magical and will make your Next.js skills skyrocket. Pay close attention, Papa Fam. Thank you so much for the $5 donation, Frank. I appreciate you always. So you can see this little grid here, and notice how this grid absolutely changes, and also how it's spanning different levels. So you see how this is a different size, this is a different size, but it's still using up the full length. Even this right here, how do you do that? I'm going to teach you how to do it all today, and I'm going to teach you how to make it fully responsive. So look at that, how the images resize, everything. You know, these are the sort of things which you could spend ages on, and I'm going to solve them for you in like a few minutes today. So it's going to make it so easy. You're absolutely going to love this after we're done with it. Okay. Now, what I've done is I've taken a project approach. Now, what I mean by this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my local host right now. So I've cut it. So I've not got anything running. Okay. And imagine we had a design team, and the design team came to us and said, okay, here's our designs. So we've got our first design, our loading screen, our second design for the results. We've got the basket. We've also got the basket, the pop-up with the parallel intercepting routes. So in this case, what I'm now going to do is go ahead and build from these designs. The reason why I do this is because I want you to go ahead and understand how it works in the production environment. This is what we do in Zero to Full Stack Hero. So I want you to get an ideal like-for-like situation, so we know how to go ahead and build from the examples that a designer might give us, whether it's Figma, whether it's Sketch, whatever it is. That's how we go ahead and work. Okay, so first things first, we're going to start up our template app. So Marios, yo, what's up? He goes, hi there, Papa Fam. Long time seeing you. So I truly missed out on, truly missed all of us. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you. So we're going to do Command J, output, hide this one, hide that one. And here you're going to go ahead and type in npm run dev. Okay, and this will start up your clone on localhost 3000. You can see I'm using Next.js 14.1. So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, this is a Next.js 14 clone. Okay, so we've got the latest and greatest stuff today to make sure that you're always ahead of the curve. Okay, so now what I need you to do, guys, we've got a good amount of viewers. This is good. All right, so I want you to go into your page.tsx. And this is where we're going to get everything started off. Now I'm going to prepare my window so you guys can actually see what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and take my local host from this window, pop it over there, and I'm going to go ahead and chuck it there. Now I'm going to restart my server. There we go. As in, I'm going to go to the page, sorry. And you should get this. This is a great starting template, right? So in this case, we don't want to do that. This is a great starting template. So at this point, Command B, and I want you to go ahead. I'm going to make my text a little bit bigger so you guys can understand what's going on. And here, I'm going to go ahead and delete everything from main downwards. So we've only got main. And then inside of main, I'm going to get rid of the class name, get rid of the image. And I'm simply going to type in h1, let's build a Walmart clone. Okay. And as you can see, let's build a Walmart clone. Now, you can see it's black, the background. I don't want a black background. So if we go to the layout.tsx file, I just want to hint here that everything from the children is actually, whoa, Ishan Meta, thank you for the donation. He goes, thank you for all the hard work, Sunny. I landed interviews after watching your videos. Thank you so much. Lots of love from Fatehabad, Haryana, India. Jay, screenshot that. That is absolutely awesome. And we've also got Morocco in the house. Thank you for the donation, Meta. I really, really appreciate you. As you can see here, we've got the layout file. Now, I want to showcase something. The layout file in Next.js 13 upward basically is responsible for whatever is positioned in beneath it. So let's consider this children element. And this is important because it's going to basically lay the foundation for the parallel roots part later on. So you can see right here, if I go ahead and just full screen this, basically, imagine this is our root layout. Okay, so everything is based off of this layout. Now we're going to go ahead and imagine that this children element right here is rendered. So I'm going to get my squiggly line, is rendering our page.tsx. So basically, imagine that the children just gets replaced with whatever is inside the return statement in page.tsx. Okay, so that's all we're going to essentially go ahead and do. Oh, I've got the noise coming in. There we go. And yes, we've got the page.tsx basically being popped in here. So you can basically put things like a header in here and so forth, and it will always get rendered out with the layout. Okay, so this is just setting the tone for things. Now in here, you can also mess with the metadata. So here we can change the title of our page to Walmart 2.0 clone. Okay, and so forth. And you can see, for example, if I was to go to my website, now the title of the page has changed. You can change the metadata like that. And I also want you to go ahead and check out the global CSS. Now, this is actually where the black background and everything is getting affected. So I want to delete all of that, keep the Tailwind classes. So in the template that we actually used to set up the project, Tailwind was automatically installed. Now, Tailwind, if you don't know what it is, simply allows us to write CSS really fast and effectively, and it makes making responsive websites a lot easier by use of something called utility classes, and it includes breakpoints. So basically, what does this all mean? It means that we can write a simple little statement, for example, text -red -500, and it basically gives us a red bit of text with the 500, and the 500 can depict on how light or dark it can be. So if it's 100 all the way to 900, you basically get the lightest color at 100 to the darkest shade at 900 and everything in between. So that will go ahead and translate to CSS and basically just makes us able to write our CSS a lot faster. Okay, so what you need that I haven't mentioned yet as well, if you go to your extensions, make sure you install the Tailwind CSS IntelliSense extension here. Okay, this is very important. This will give you all these little autocompletes. You see this BG red, blah, 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 right? So it allows you to basically go ahead and get that nice IntelliSense. So somebody said, why don't you use button instead of known? Because I'm trying to make it honestly as easy and accessible to many people as possible. Now, if you are enjoying this stream already, remember, do not forget to like this video. If you're watching right now, I'm going to pause it, like the video right now, and comment it down below, and then let's go. Okay, let's carry on. Because so many people are watching, they don't like the videos, right? So in this case, let's jump back into it. So we got the page. Now, what I like to do in any of my builds, if you know, I like to go ahead and actually mark things out. So first things first, inside the layout, I'm going to create a header, because that's what we basically have in our design over here, this header component. Okay, so this header is my first full of focus. So let's go ahead and do that to get warmed up. So I want to go ahead and close my app. Inside of the package.json level, I'm going to create a folder called components. Now, everything by default in Next.js 13 up, so in this case, we're obviously in Next.js 14, is a server component. So we're also going to learn about server components there and how they work. Now, inside of the components folder, it's no different. Everything is a server component off the bat. We're going to type in header.tsx. Okay, and then in here, I'm going to use something called a snippet. Now, snippets, if you don't have them, go to the extension marketplace and type in React Redux. I think it's React Redux, yeah, snippets. Yeah, and you want to get this one, ES7 React Redux snippets. I swear to God, I am the reason why this is 10 million downloads, because I've told so many people to download this thing. Okay, so in this case, I remember when I first started, it was like 1 million downloads, but download this extension, is really good. Okay, now once you have it, you can do this, RFCE, boom, and then you basically get your template written out for you for the function. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out so you guys can see our folder structure as well, and we're going to delete that as well. Okay, now in this case, this just renders a plain header. We head over to our page again, so this page right here, and sorry, the layout. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically import my component here just like so. And I'm going to do Control Spacebar, and you can see we import our components header. Now, as you can see, the header is basically pulled into it. Now, the good thing about this is the header, as you can see, like this is going to get rendered every time because it's part of the root layout. So we will never have to worry about where does the header get rendered and so forth, right? It will always get rendered out now because it's part of the layout. The children will just simply get rendered in based on which screen we're in, okay? So that's great. Now we're gonna go ahead and customize our header the way we need to. Firstly, for SEO purposes, we're gonna change our syntax to be header. That way, web scrapers know that we're actually using a header. And before I dive any further, we're gonna go ahead and install something called Shadcn. So Shadcn is responsible for a lot of the beautiful designs. And again, we do cover this in 0 to Full Stack Hero, but I want you to go to Shadcn, ui.shadcn.com, and you will get to this page. Now, it's not a component library. It's basically a collection of reusable components. You can copy and paste into your apps, and they make it so effective and easy to go ahead and do this. Again, smash that like button if you're enjoying the content and you're learning something new. First things first, head over to installation, and we are using Next.js. So we're gonna simply click that. Now we've already set up our project. So now all you need to do is npx shadcn latest init. You want to copy that, head now back over to your project. And now, as you can see, I've got my server running on one. So I like to go ahead and create a split terminal to have the next sort of, screen. I'll close this up a bit. And I basically just keep that one very small. So I can see if an error happens in my server, but I can go ahead and run any other command over on this side. And I always find that helps me out a little bit with sort of, making sure that I don't make a mistake on what I'm doing. So I can always see if an error goes wrong. Now they will ask us a bunch of questions. I'm going to keep all of the defaults. You can feel free to customize it as you wish. And yes, you will get errors as it's installing. It's completely fine. Okay. So that's great. We've done that now. Now you can go ahead and carry on with dark mode, a few extra things, but we're not going to focus too much on that. I'm going to simply show you how we can, for example, pull in, let's say, a button component. So everything is based off the CDN. So npx shadcn latest add button, copy that, head over to our terminal and go ahead and pop that in like so. Okay, now once you pop that in, you will be able to see the following. It just says done. So we can do Command J. And for example, if I want that button now inside of my header, we can simply import it. But you see what really happened is it simply went ahead and made a UI folder and added the button to my library. And why I love this so much is because it's not abstracted away from us. Like, it's not some hidden component that I can never really customize or understand what's going on. Everything is built from Tailwind CSS, and it simply shows me. So you can customize it to your heart's contempt, because all it's essentially done is effectively copied and pasted the code into our project. So you can really just look at it and mess around with it and do whatever you want to do with it. You can see all the variants and everything that is supported and so forth. But we're going to keep it simple for now. I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate that if I was to simply put a button, and I can import from UI button. So you see how it's coming in from UI button. And we simply say, for example, sign in. You can see I get the beautiful sign in button at the top. Okay, so I'm demonstrating this so that way we can move faster after this. And if I type in variant now, you will now see I got a bunch of different variants, such as outline. We've got ghost. I've even got ghost, which is quite a cool one. And you can see we've got a few different things, even secondary, and we even have destructive for like a warning. So this is why it's really handy to use something like Shadcn. It really speeds up our development process, and it's going to help us get this build done as fast as possible. Okay, and I really do recommend it in production apps as well. It's great. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and pop in our, let's go ahead and just get our designs back up. We're going to get our Walmart, logo put up. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so Manish says, can you show your package JSON at the end of the stream? If you remind me at the end of the stream, I will definitely do so. In fact, I will show you right now. There you go. You can see it for yourself. That's the dependencies that we have. You can pause the video, see for yourself. That's a very good question as well. Right, so let's do that right now, because I know some of you might have different versions and so forth. So we're going to actually wrap that image inside of something called a Next.js link tag. Okay, so this is going to have the link inside of it, and it's simply going to go to the home page when you click it. Okay, so this will just say go home, for example. And when I click it, it will simply route me home. Well, I'm already on the home page, so it doesn't do anything. Okay, now inside of here, we're going to use something called a image, Next.js image tag. Okay, not a normal image tag, but a Next.js image tag, because it basically optimizes the rendering of that. Now inside of here, we're going to give it a couple of values. In this case, I've already helped us out a little bit. links.popup.com/XSI. This is basically a shortened URL for the Walmart logo. And then here you can see this is basically just not, I don't know why it says that. It's just a logo. And then width and height of 150. I don't want to keep it that big. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and hit save, we should get an error. There you go. Now, the reason why we get an error, firstly, if you don't understand the image component, I have a beautiful video explaining the whole thing. It will probably be somewhere around the screen now, so Jay can add that in once it's going to go ahead and get dropped on this, like, once this video is released, basically, it will go ahead and get added very shortly afterwards. But you can go ahead and head over to my channel and check out the image component. Sama literally just said, please create a video for the image component. I already have one on the channel. Simply type in Next.js image component Sunny Sanga on YouTube and you will find it. Okay. Now, in this case, we're going to go ahead and show you. So the image component tries to optimize the images whenever we use them. So it has a very nice like optimization step. Now the problem is you have to basically say what is safe and what is not safe. So we have to actually add in the domain that we basically say, okay, these domains are safe and these ones are not. Now, if you ever forget what's going on, it will come up with an error. And I simply want you to click on the error here. Okay, and it will take you to this page and it will actually give you the code that you require. So if you head over to your next config, you'll go to this screen. I simply need you to go inside here and add in the images remote patterns. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that now. Now for the remote patterns, in our case, we don't care about too much the path name or the port. Instead, we're just going to copy and change these two values over here to become links.popup.react.com. And this will need a refresh of the server. So as you can see here, it says found a change in Next.js config, restarting the server to apply the changes. And if we go back to our page now and we refresh, we should see that a Walmart logo is successfully rendered on the page. Okay, so in that case, oops, I did not get a nice logo. I think I've actually put the wrong logo in maybe. Let me just go ahead and double check what I've done there. And we have the first part of debugging. I always love this part. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get that logo for us. I just want to see if I've actually got this logo up. Yeah, I have got a logo there, so a bit strange. In fact, what we can do sometimes is we can go ahead and clear our cache. Let's see, boom. And okay, bad request for the image. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and do a clear our cache. So network. Okay, that's fine. So what we'll do is for now, I'm going to just carry on with the build and we can pull that image when I get it back afterwards. In fact, it should come in. If it doesn't come in, I can simply get another Walmart logo. Absolutely fine. Not an issue. But in this case, that's cool for now. We can change that afterwards to fix it. Okay, so I can get another one. Jay, if you can get me a Walmart logo, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm going to drop you a link and you can go ahead and share me a shortened links.popup.react.com link of a new logo which matches that one. Thank you. All right, it has to be a transparent background. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to carry on. So basically assume that this is that link. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and style it accordingly and then I'll change the link afterwards to fix it. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually center that link. Actually, what we'll do is we'll handle this one afterwards because I want to show you the effect that I do. But afterwards, we're going to go ahead and build out the form. So this form right here, so the search everything form that you see right here. Okay, what's going on with that? That's very strange. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So this form right here that you see, we're going to build that. So over at this point, we're going to type in form and we don't want the action. That's not what we want. What I want to do now is I want to have a input field and a button. So an input field and a button. And yes, you can absolutely use whatever you like in terms of, you can use Shadcn buttons if you want here, but I'm going to go ahead and custom style this. We're actually only going to use a search logo. That's the only thing I care about really here. And I will show you. So we're importing. So when you actually set up, Shadcn, it actually set up Lucid React, which is a icon library. So I've gone ahead and imported a bunch of icons and you can see here, these are the icons that we will eventually be using. One of which is called search. Now this one, I'm simply going to go ahead and pop it like so. I'm going to style it accordingly. So I'm going to pop in class name and here I'm just going to say px of 4. So 1 minute, rounded 4. I'm going to give it a height and width of, height of 10, sorry. And I'm just going to pop it in for now so you can see it. There you go. So you can see right now, very hard to see, but I'm going to actually make this a bit easier. I'm going to give this a placeholder called search everything. Search everything. Okay, great. Jay, you've given me without the actual Walmart, so you need to fix that, please. Okay, so in this case, search everything there, ... Okay, Okay, so in this case now we've got the search everything, and in the form I'm going to style it so it's a bit central. So in this case we're going to say flex, and you can see it goes in line. I want to do item center when it gets bigger, and then I'm going to say BG white, and then I'm going to say rounded full W full to make it a full width. And I'm going to say flex 1 as well, because I'm going to make this overall container to be a flex container. And then I want this to use up as much space as it possibly can. Okay. And then inside the input field, I need to basically say that then needs to expand its space. So over here, I need to say flex 1 like this. Okay, perfect. And now you can see it uses up as majority of space that it can, as opposed to this one. Now I've got a Walmart logo. So I'm going to go back here and swap this one out. Boom, like so. And let's see if that one worked as well. There we go. Okay, so I've got my Walmart logo fixed. Thank you so much, Jay. Perfect. All right, so we've got the Walmart logo. Great. We've got the search everything. Great. Okay, now everything's a bit squished up, so we're going to fix that as well. But for the header, we're going to go ahead and say background. And I actually want to use a Walmart color. Now, we can't just use Walmart color because it's not set up. Obviously, it's not by default there. So what I can actually do here is if I go over here and I type in my Tailwind config, you'll see that we've got this extend. And I highly recommend you do this step after you set up Shadcn, because Shadcn actually modifies this file. So we actually need to go ahead and do that. Okay. Now we're about to hit 200 likes as well. Keep smashing that like button. Let's get it to 1,000 for this video, guys. So at this point on the extend, what I want to do is I want to go to my Tailwind. So I'm already in Tailwind, sorry. And inside the colors, I'm going to simply pop in Walmart. Okay, Walmart like so. And I've got my color code here for Walmart, which I'm going to go and pop in a second. Like this. And what's so cool about this, guys, is what I've just done is I've extended the IntelliSense for Tailwind CSS. And now when I type in like text Walmart or BG Walmart, it will go ahead and work the way we expect it. So if I type in, you see Walmart, perfect. And I go ahead and do this, bam, look at that, guys. Now, Jay, I do actually need the Walmart logo with a white background if possible. So if you can get me a white background, that would be amazing. Okay. For the text itself, so it has to be white text. Okay, so if you can do that in the meantime, that will help me out a lot. So in this case, now you guys can see, imagine the Walmart logo is there. It's going to be a white background like that, and then we're going to basically handle things. So for the input field, I've got the following. So give me 1 second. I'm going to say padding on the x-axis, because you can see it's touching the sidebar. I don't like it. Padding x of 4. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and say rounded on the left side, 4, outline none. Right now the outline, when I basically type in, so when I go ahead and do this, you can see, there we go. Now there's no blue outline ring, which is annoying. So once we've got that, there you go. And then we're going to say placeholder. I want to make the placeholder text a bit smaller. So placeholder text small. There we go. Boom. Now you can see the placeholder text gets a little bit smaller, which looks a bit cleaner and neater. Now for this button, I'm going to style it a little bit different. I'm simply going to go ahead and say, oops, I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to put it in the search button itself. Rounded height. There we go. And then I'm going to say padding X of 2, width of 10. Okay. So there you go. You can see it's a little bit more padded out nicely. And I'm just going to make my screen a little bit bigger as well. I can't actually see anything. And then we're going to say background yellow. And I'm going to give it a cursor pointer. So in this case, background yellow. And cursor pointer. There we go. Boom. And as you can see, that's a lot cleaner. So that is a lot more on par with our design. I don't believe I've actually done the placeholder correctly. If we do this as extra small, yeah, you can see it gets a bit smaller. So we did do it correctly. There we go. Now that's great. I want to pad out the header a little bit more because it's just very hard to see what's going on. We're actually going to say padding X on the x-axis of 10 and padding on the y-axis of 7. And that will give us a lot more breathing room, you can see. There you go. Okay. Now also the logo which is touching this is not ideal. So we're going to say space between our X items. So space between the X items of 5. And as you can see, it just pushes apart our items. So this actually helps us out a lot. Okay, so somebody goes, you're looking at already written code in the other screen and typing. 100% I am. I'm definitely doing that because you can't expect a streamer to be building it on a live stream from scratch and try and get it done in 2 hours. So chill, my dude. Marius goes, gotta go, Pop Fam. I'll be sure to check it out. Thank you so much, dude. And Badija, stay in your lane, dude. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna go ahead and actually, I'll handle the responsiveness afterwards of that as well. 1 second. I'm going to go into, Okay, so at this point, we need to, Jay, it needs to be a white background, please. Like the text needs to be white. Thank you. All right, so after that, we're gonna go ahead and add in the department services and all of this stuff as well. So after the form here, and also I'm gonna make this a type submit button. Okay, there we go. Now, strangely as well, it's a bit annoying that my original logo was not working. So if we try it one more time, yeah, you can see it's not working. It's very strange. Okay, which is absolutely fine. We can do it afterwards. So after that, outside the form, we're gonna have a div. And inside the div, we're going to have a few links. So I'm going to quickly pop in an example of what we're going to do here. So that way we can save a bit of time. So we've got a link, which just simply goes to the homepage for now. I'm not going to set it up to actually go to a departments page. But you can see these are hidden on a phone. So as you can see, these are mobile first rules. So if I was to get rid of this rule right now and just say flex, okay, you can see it's always there, right? It's always actually on the screen. Now, even on a small screen, it's there. So if you want to go ahead and make it responsive, you can actually go ahead and do the following. You can say hidden, because everything will by default apply to mobile first. And then what you can go ahead and do is set up a breakpoint. So on a extra large device and above, I want it to be flex. So I want it to show. So now you can see it's hidden. And then when it hits an extra large screen, only then will it pop in. Okay, so you see how that works, right? So that's called breakpoints, and that helps us out a lot. Okay, now the top, you can see when we actually had that, it's not actually straight. Everything's not aligned. So what we're actually going to do is make it centrally aligned by saying items center. And now you can see everything is centrally aligned. Okay, so this is how you want to do it. You really don't want to go ahead and do things like that. So at this point, boom, we're going to go ahead and do this. I love the Papa fam. Absolutely awesome. The defense that jumps in. So that's great. And then we've got a few more. So I've got one, which is the services. So let's go ahead and pop this in. We've got another one, which is services. So there you go. And actually right now, they're all going to be stacked up on top of each other. And I'm going to have the third one as well for my items. So again, nothing special happening here. It's just going to be for the same things over and over again. Same thing for the account. And then I've got one more for the basket as well. Right now, I'm going to pause on the basket. But right now you can see, look, I've basically set up a little bit of a different rule. So I always want to show the reorder my items and the sign in accordingly. So in this case, you can see, but they're all just stacked up. It doesn't look nice, right? So basically the surrounding div that I basically put these containers in, if I make that a flex, you see they're automatically put into a row. So that's a lot nicer. I'm going to do space on the x-axis of 5, padding of 5. I'm going to do a padding bottom of 0. And you can see everything starts to get a bit more space. Now that does not look like I want it. And on the medium screen and above, I'm doing padding of 0. Okay. The reason why I'll show you in a second is because, let's go back here. So I've actually screwed this up a little bit. 1 second. So we actually want it to be, 1 second. Yeah. So let's keep it like this for now. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's good for now. And basically on a mobile view, I actually want to have it so this drops underneath, right? I want to have it so this drops underneath, and basically, there we go. Yeah, so it needs to drop underneath. So this basically will be a bit more responsive and so forth. So let's go ahead and do that. Jay, where is that image at? It's taken so long to get that image. Okay, so at this point now, we're going to go ahead and change it at the top of my file. So I'm going to say flex column by default on a mobile. Okay, so flex column. Now you see that is what I wanted. I want it to be flex column by default. Yeah. Then what we actually want to do here is for the above link. So for this link right here, I want to give it a margin bottom of 5 when it's on a mobile view. But when it gets to a medium screen or above, I want to remove the margin. Okay, so that way we get rid of that margin once it goes onto a bigger screen. Okay. Okay. 1 second, guys. Yeah, so that's perfect. So at this point now, we can go ahead and you see it's not changing back into the full screen view. So I need to go ahead and say when I hit the medium screen, flex row. Okay, so there we go. That's much better. Perfect. So you can see how we tend to do things like this, right? We're going to do the same principle for the bottom div over here. So for the bottom div, we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to say, I've done it a bit different on my screen, but I'm actually going to change it a little bit because I don't like the way I've done it. I'm going to say margin top of 5 on a mobile view. And then on the medium screen and above, we simply remove the margin top. So So same principle here. And as you can see now, as we go into a bigger screen, there we go. And you see how the departments and services simply is hidden. What I would recommend in a production build is all you have to simply go ahead and do is go and basically create a sidebar. So a slide out sidebar. That's the optimal way to go ahead and get that done. Yeah, perfect stuff. Okay, perfect stuff. And then we've got the final thing, which is going to be the basket. Okay, so for the basket, I'm simply going to copy this again, except this time I'm going to have a shopping cart here. So shopping cart size 20, and instead of the saying assign in here, this for now I'm just going to go ahead and say like for example no items, and then we're going to have a total here which is going to be static for now. I'm just going to say something like $0, right? Perfect. Now you can see no items, $0. So that's perfect for now. Great. Okay, so that's what you want to do initially. In the beginning, we've got this right here. So you can see it's going to be the logo, and then we've got everything looking great. And then this right here. So I actually want to go ahead and have it when I type in and hit enter, it takes me to the / search screen. So what we're going to do is whenever you need interactivity inside of a server component, you need to go ahead and introduce state. Now, the problem is with server components, you don't have a window object because it's rendered on the server. So when you're doing any sort of, interactive work, you need to go ahead and actually convert it to a client component. So I'll show you how to do that right now. So we're actually going to convert this header to a client component by saying use client at the top of the file. Okay, that's perfect. And then what we're going to do is now this is being rendered on the client, not the server. Okay, perfect stuff. Code Dude says that's amazing stuff. Great stuff. Also, Jay, mod the chat, please. All right, and then that's perfect. Okay, cool. Also the chat, yeah, you need to relax a little bit. There you go. Okay, so that's perfect. Okay, so I've converted to a client component, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a piece of state. Actually, rather than a piece of state even, you can use something called a, you can either use a reference to point to the form over here, or we can simply use the submit form to go ahead and get the typing, the text, everything there as well. So at this point, I want to go ahead and create a handle submit function for the form. Okay, so at this point, form, for the form, I'm going to go and say on submit, and we're going to do the following. I'm going to say handle submit. Okay, and I'm going to create a handle submit function over here. So I'm going to say const handle submit, and this is going to be an arrow function. Now with any submit function, you actually have a handler that gets passed in, so you get something called an event. So we're going to shorthand this to E, and then basically the way to get this event, if you don't know what it is, and I show this sometimes in my builds, is if you create an arrow here and you hover over it, it will actually show you a form event HTML form elements. You copy that, you can get rid of this. Very nice little trick. You pop it in here and you simply import the form event. And there we get the perfect type definitions. Zafar says, is this live or Premiere? It's live, absolutely live. Okay, so at this point, what I want you to do is I'm going to say e.prevent default. So this actually stops the page from refreshing because we're now going to tell the web browser how to handle this interactive element. Okay, so that's perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and get the input. So why don't I, here, I can go ahead and type in the input. Somebody says, why not convert just the search form into client rather than the whole top bar? Yes, you can 100% do that. I would 100% recommend you do that. As I mentioned before, there's so many ways to work this way. I'm trying to do just a demo to the best of my ability for the time given. But yes, I would recommend you just convert the search component. Very good question. Thank you for saying it. Okay. Okay, Jay, you need to shorten that link. I did not realize that it would be so difficult to get Jay to handle that. It's incredible. Okay, so at this point now, if I want to go ahead and type in, I need to get the input, and I need to get the basically whatever value I put in here. So again, you can use ref, you can use a state. In this instance, I'm actually going to use something called e. So e.current target, so current target dot input dot value. Now, here, the input itself is from the form that we submitted, right? So in this one here, but I actually need to go ahead and give that form a name. So that way it knows where to get it from. So if we go to our form here and I say name is input, this needs to correlate to whatever I'm doing there. Okay. So in this case, okay, I'm just going to do it myself because it's taking way too long, dude. So in this case, I've got an imgur, right? I'm going to go ahead and shorten this link. over here. So boom. I'm actually going to go ahead and copy this right now. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm doing a shortened URL. And okay, so I can't actually create the link at the moment, which is interesting. So at this point now, what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to simply allow for Imgur to basically be popped into it. So at this, yeah, for some reason it's not letting me do a new link. So I'm basically just, I've created a link over there and this is going to complain. So I'm going to whitelist this Imgur. It's fine. We can just debug this and handle this accordingly. We're going to go to our next config and I'm going to land in the following. I'm going to say protocol. For the host name, I'm going to give this one Imgur. There you go. Refresh my server and there you go. Perfect stuff. Okay. And now we should be able to see that pop in. So we've got Walmart at the top. Happy days. Okay. So at this point, it's all good. Okay. Andre says, don't be mean, struggling. I'm the one on the live stream. I'm trying to do the build as well. So I was just asking for a very simple task. Okay. So at this point, anyway, we need to route the user to the appropriate location. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say const. I need a router basically. And I get the router from the next route. So in this case, you have to be very careful here. Okay. So when you want to go ahead and get the router to direct the user to a different page, make sure you do it from next navigation. Okay, there we go. Next navigation. Now here, once we've got this, we say router dot push / and we say search. And I'm simply going to append a query param with Q being the input. Okay, so we've got Q being the input. So in this case, if I go ahead and do this, you can see if I type in, for example, Adidas and I hit enter now. So when I hit enter, you should see in the search bar, it will go ahead and take me to / search with the Q Adidas. And obviously we haven't built that page yet. Yeah. So in this case, right now, you can go ahead and do that. And you can see it takes me to Q Adidas. If I type in test, okay, so why is it white? Okay, so in this case, if I go back over there and I go to my text and I'm going to say text black, there we go, boom. It shouldn't be white. Yeah, we go. Okay, for some reason, it was making it text black. So now you can see it works perfectly. So if we are in the home screen and I type in, for example, computer, it will take me to search computer. Okay, and then we can build that screen out as we need to later. Perfect stuff. Now, the only other thing we need to do is the basket. Okay, so for the final link down below, I'm going to go ahead and say here where we have the basket, I'm just going to say take me to / basket page. And I'll handle all of the core interactivity afterwards. For now, if I click on / basket, you see how it takes me just to the basket page. Okay, so that is the header done. Okay, so the header is perfect there. We're almost about to smash 200 likes as well. Make sure you smash that like button. Let's go ahead and have a quick little water break. Okay, now with that, we're gonna change the music a little bit because I'm not feeling this a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and find some of my old tracks. Again, all of this is inside of the description. You can actually get the playlist by signing up to our newsletter, right, for free. Yeah, so inside of the page.tsx.app, okay, so the first things first, now we're going to build this. Now this grid right here, I'm going to show you how we do it. So I'm going to go into my let's do it right here. Give me 1 second. We're going to go into, and I'm going to pick the pace up. So we've got a nice sort of flow state going on. No distractions, nothing happening right now. We're going to go ahead and actually move forward quickly with this. So with the page now here, I'm basically going to have a main, and this is going to have a flex container. So it's actually going to be using up the full flex. Actually, no, we're going to do it afterwards. That's fine. I'm simply going to have a div inside of it, and I'm going to have several grid options. Now this component, we're going to build it out, and eventually all it's going to have is a title, a image itself. So if it's going to have a title, sweet gifts for left, it's going to have an image itself, and it's going to have a class name. Okay, so all of these things are going to go ahead and be present, and then we can go ahead and basically render out each image like so. Okay, so I've actually gone ahead and done this very simply. So I'm going to go ahead and pop it into the screen, and you can feel free at this point. So I'm going to cycle through, and you can pause the video and just see the differences. Now, the only differences that you need to be aware of are the title and image are obviously different for each different thing, and the class name. So the class name is going to be for the different colors that you see, BG pink, BG yellow, and so forth, and how many columns and rows are being spanned, right? And also if it's going to be of a specific height. Right, so in this case, some of them are different heights and so forth. So I just want you to take note of that. And that's how essentially we're going to customize the different views. And I'm going to create this component right now for us. So inside of components, I'm going to create the component grid option.tsx. Okay, and we're going to do RFCE. Right, RFCE. Somebody goes, it looks like a masonry. Yes, 100%, dude. It does. That's why it's something that I've always seen people wanting to build, but they're not ideally sure how to build it. Now, there were 3 props we passed in: the title, the class name, and the image. Okay, and then we've got the props. The props come in here. Now, we can either write a type definition up here for the props, which we can do now as well, or you can do it inline. It's completely your preference. In this case, I'm going to say title is string. The class name is actually optional, so you don't have to pass it in. And then we've got an image, which is going to be optional, and it's going to be a string as well. Okay, so we've got this now. So this now accepts the 3, and we're destructuring to go ahead and get the values out. Now, very simply, these are not going to be divs. These are going to be link components like so. And they're going to simply take us to the following href. Okay, so in this case, the href is going to have the path name. So it's going to have a path name. I'll show you. I like to show a couple of ways how you can render things here. So we've got a path name, and the query param is actually going to be for. So we're going to append q. So just like we did a search before, but it's just going to be for the title. Okay, so basically if I was to click on this, it will take us to Q, which is search, and it will say shop wardrobe as the query that we'll enter, right? So you can either do this, or you can do it like a string interpolation to go ahead and do it. Either way, just showing you different ways how you can do the same thing. Okay, about to smash 200 likes, guys. Let's keep on going. Absolutely awesome stuff. Now for here, we're going to go ahead and change this to a H2, and we're going to say title, boom, like so. And as you can see, it's not defined yet. So if I go into my page and I import the component, now we should be able to see, there we go, very great. Go back over to grid option, I'll close that off. And then I'm simply going to say, if you did pass in an image, okay, only if you passed in an image, should we render that image like so? Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to render out the image like this, and we're going to say source. Jay, if you can check out what's going on with Rebrandly, that would help me out a lot. Okay, and then we have to give image tags a alt tag as well. So I'm going to give that the title. And we're going to say layout is going to be actually fill. Okay, so right now we actually need to import the next image component. Okay, and I'm going to say object fit is contain. Actually, to be honest with you, for now it's just that's actually obsolete, right? You don't actually need to do that. You can actually say class name, and we can say object cover here instead. So we can say opacity is going to be 20 as well, because you see I've got this nice little opaque effect for the image at the background. Okay, so opacity is 20, and it's going to be rounded on the corners. Okay, now if we go ahead and refresh, you can see, boom, all those images are flying in. Okay, so you don't want it to look like this, and the reason why it looks like this right now is because layout fill is going to be relative to the entire page. So it's going to try and fill up the image for the entire page, and what we want to do is tell it to be relative to the component, the parent component that it's inside of. So very easy to do that. We simply say relative, and once you do that, it will now be relative to its parent container. Right, so that's a very handy thing. If you didn't know, that's actually a huge sort of thing to go ahead and look at. Now somebody says, can you recommend me a course to learn web development? Yes, 100%. If you head over to popup.com/course, I have a course which takes you all the way up until smashing it with your first job from zero skill. So you can go ahead and check it out. It's the second link in the description. We teach you everything. Go ahead, check out our video here. We've got all of our students, lots of our students giving testimonials of their success within the popup firm, why they love it, and why it's the best community on the planet. So go ahead and check that out for yourself. Okay, now inside of here, what I've actually done is we're actually going to use, when we installed Shadcn, they included something called Cn. Now, all this does is it does a tailwind merge. So basically it merges class names together. Okay, thank you Yatish. He goes, I love the Disney Plus client, amazing stuff. And what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to just simply import that Cn function. And what you can do is you can just pass in anything that you want to combine. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to pass in relative, and you see how it's the same thing. Okay, but what I can do is I can actually then go ahead and combine the second argument, which is the class name. So if you passed in a class name, it would basically apply these, and then it would overwrite any of the following rules with the class name that you passed in. So it's like a precedent. So every argument has a higher precedent than the previous. Okay, so now if we go ahead and hit refresh, that's okay. And then what I want to do is actually style it. So I'm going to say grid option, and this is not a class that exists. We're going to create a custom Tailwind class called grid option. So how do we do that? Head over to our, we need to go to our styles. So it's going to be inside of our, if you go to layout.tsx, you'll see globals. Yes, it's in globals.css. Now here is where I'm going to create a custom style. Okay, now the way we do it is we say inside the components layer, so at layer components, and we basically say, we say what the style is, we say grid option, and now we can start styling it, but we have to use the @apply directive before we type anything. So if I say rounded medium, you should be able to actually see the corners starting to round because it's applying this custom class to everything inside. You see if I do padding of 5, right now we actually haven't got anything. If I say column span, okay, so I actually need to say firstly height 4, and it's not applying this stuff. So let's go to our grid option. I need to hit save, and now you can see what I'm trying to do. Yep, there we go. That's actually much better. Okay, now before I apply any of this, I need to go ahead and prepare the grid to actually accept the things that I'm trying to do. So I'm actually going to show you what the styling is here firstly. So I'm going to say everything by default is column span 1, which isn't going to apply because we haven't set it to be a grid view yet. Okay, and then I'm going to say give it a couple of things like hover selections. So for example, when you hover over it, you see how it's changing the hover opacity, and also there'll be a tiny little border on it as well, which we can't see at the moment as well because again I haven't set things up correctly. So back over in page.tsx where we render out the entire grid, this is where it will all come together. So what I need you to do is go ahead and we're going to basically give it a grid layout. Okay, so let's go ahead and type in grid, and you'll see, boom, straight off the bat, it will set everything up to be a grid column 1. So it's actually 1 column, and we're saying like it should span 2 and so forth, right? So now what I can do is I can say, okay, on a mobile view, I want it to always be grid columns 1. Okay, and you can see now that this is only breaking if I say something like, you know, column span 2, which is taking up 2 columns and so forth, right? But then on a, basically you see this little gap here. You can fix that by saying grid flow, and then you basically want to say row dense. So if it is ever space on a row, it will basically populate it by basically filling it up with something else. So if I go ahead and get rid of that, you can see it finds another one that is basically, you can go ahead and pop it in there, and then it fills it accordingly. So grid flow row dense. Okay, and if you can hover over it, you can actually see what it's doing. Sorry, no, if you hover over it, you can see, look, it's just setting the row dense property. Okay, boom, we just flew over 200 likes. Absolutely awesome stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Keep smashing that like button, and we're going to keep on growing on this channel. So if we hit a medium breakpoint, we're going to say grid columns 4. Okay, now what you'll see is as we get bigger, look at that. Oh, lovely, absolutely beautiful design. And you can see what's happening here, right? So I've actually set all the grid stuff. What you can do is you can definitely go ahead, and by the way, guys, before I mention, all the code is available. Is Sunny's trending in South Africa. Amazing stuff. I love that, right? Let's break 300 likes with that. So guys, if you can notice that when I go ahead and expand this, it changed from a 1 column to a 4 column setup, right? So it's actually, if you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can see here, you can see the 4th column here, but because I'm spanning different things and doing different things, so in this case, this is spanning across 2 columns, right? This one is spanning across 2 columns and 2 rows. And if we go ahead and correlate that inside of our code here, you'll see, look, spanning across 2 columns and 2 rows, right? So match day, this one right here is 2 columns, 2 rows. And you can see for shop toys, this will be 2 columns. You see, column span 2 and so forth. So that's how we're getting that view. And then obviously on a mobile view, it looks great as well. So this is really a beautiful design, and it's a really nice way of working with things when you want to go ahead and build something like this inside of your app. Now, as you can see, everything's kind of bunched together. So if we want to give it a bit of space, we want, you know, the computer to figure out that side, we just say gap of 6. Right? If we do a gap of 6 now it's basically, you know, spaced it all out. And then we want the side margin to also be 6. And then you get this perfect layout. Now look at that, guys. Absolutely perfect. That's what we want. Okay. Now if I go ahead and get rid of this and I click on shop wardrobe, for example, you see how right now it's just taking me to queue shop wardrobe. That's because I made the mistake there of, if inside a grid option, it actually needed to be /search. Okay. So if I now click it, you'll see shop wardrobe will take me to search with a queue, and it's the same thing as typing something in here. So basically these will direct us to a search as well. Absolutely great. Tino, what is up, dude? Absolutely awesome to see you in the house. He goes, looking fresh. I appreciate you, dude. The retention today, absolutely awesome, guys. You guys are sticking through and through it. Really, really nice to see. Okay, so I also want to change the text here to look a little bit more interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now. We're going to say text should be XL. So let me go back in and say text should be extra large and the font should be bold. Boom. Manish goes, his builds are fresh as his haircut. So I love that. Thank you so much. I will send the love to my barber. This should be text XL as well. There we go. Sunny, does Jay? Somebody asked Jay, does Sunny share his VS Code extension setup in the course? Yes, 100% I do. I share everything in the course. I share my entire productivity suite, how I work, how I set my business up. Everything is in that course. 0 to full stack hero. Go ahead, second link in the description, join it. I promise you, best investment you will ever make. Okay, so at this point now, we are going to let's see right now. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So we've got this all done the way we wanted it. So what I want to do next is the search page. The search page is going to basically incorporate Oxylabs into it to allow us to search for an item. Now, as you can see, when I go into that search page, we should see this where it's scraping a page, and then it should go ahead and say, for example, if we clicked on shop wardrobe, it should show us all of the wardrobe items that we have scraped from the real Walmart. Okay, so how the hell do we even begin to do that? Well, I will show you right now, and it's actually a lot simpler than you think. First up, we're going to go into our code, and we're going to go into our our app directory, and we're going to create a new route called search. And this is how we do it. We create a new folder called search. There we go. Who is Barbara is. I actually shared it on my podcast, guys. So if we go into the search page, and then we're going to go ahead and create a page called page.tsx. So this is how we do file-based routing in Next.js 13 upwards. I'm going to say search page. Okay, I'm going to delete that. Now, as you can see, boom, we have a search page. Perfect. And because in the layout, we went ahead and defined the header, you can see nothing else changes except for that. So if I type in search, look at that, perfect. And you see what it's doing here is it's not re-rendering the, it's actually not re-rendering the header. It just re-renders this section of the page. So it's very efficient with Next.js, right? Now on the search page, we need to get the search parameter. So if I clicked on shop electronics, for example, you see here we've got /search, and then we've got Q, which is our search term, and then we've got shop electronics. So how do we get access to that? Well, remember, these are by default server components. So what I can actually do here is the props come through. So if I console log my props, what you'll see is I get the search params come through here. Okay, so I'm just going to hide that for a second. You can see, look, search params, Q, shop electronics. Again, it's on the server to begin with. Okay, so I hope this is making sense to you right now. But what we need to do is destructure it. So what we do is we basically go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and create our type definitions here for the props. And for that, we can go ahead and say type props equals. And this is basically, I don't care about the params. I just want the search params. So here I'm going to say search params. And inside of that, we've got Q, which is a string. Boom, right? Perfect. And then if we go ahead and destructure this, we can now pull out our search params and do a further nested destructure to get the Q out. And now if I say, Q here, we should see, if I refresh the page, shop electronics. Perfect. Now we can use this in a call to, the backend and handle things that we need to handle accordingly. Okay. So, I just realized I did something silly earlier. I completely left a bit like a testing timeout to do something. So funny. Okay, so at this point now, what we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and basically have it here. So this is where we would basically say fetch the search results. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, guys, is in the first link in the description, you will be able to set up your account with Oxylabs. So go ahead, click claim your deal, proxy 30. Now, once you've done that, I need you to log into your portal, and then we will be using the documentation to go ahead and begin the scraping process. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my dashboard right now. So I'm actually heading into the dashboard, and you can see right now where we should have access in just a second. Now I've got access to a bunch of products over here, including the e-commerce scraper API. So if I click on the e-commerce scraper API and I click on users, you can see I've got my username right here. Now, first things first is when you have your username, if you go ahead and click, you see that little icon over on the right, you can change your password. So obviously I'm not going to share my password. Your password will almost also get emailed to you. So the product that you're going to need is the e-commerce scraper API. And this is really important to understand that you need this, because this is going to allow us to do all the scraping functionality from Oxylabs. So I'm going to go ahead, copy my username. So I'm copying that right now. Boom. If you're wondering what that little popover is, I use something called Grammarly. So it's just a plugin, ignore it. And then, well, there we go. Is this even real? I was creating LinkedIn clone. Yes, it is real. This is very live and very real. Destructuring just means you pull apart an object, for those who don't understand what I said earlier. All right, so we've gone ahead and copied that. Now I'm going to create my environment variables to safely store the any sort of sensitive information. So inside of your folder, .env.local. And this means that we're basically going to store some environment variables here. So any, details that we don't want to leak or anything like that, we're going to do like this. All right, so we're going to pop them in here. And by default, everything is unreadable. So in this case, if I type in super secret password, for example, super secret password, and that would be your password. So you want to replace that with your own password. And as I showed you before, you get it from what I told you. So you can either change your password over here, or you can go ahead and get an email to you when you sign up. Okay. Look at that. Someone goes, I remember Babatunde goes, Dan, Dean, Tino and Avnish from the days of the 5-day build challenge. Sunny's been here since forever. Honestly, that's what I'm telling you guys. The community is here to stay. That's why it's such a game changer community. And it really is there with you from your beginning of your journey all the way up until you're progressing to senior dev, starting your own companies. This is why the Pub fans unbeatable. Right now, I do want to mention as well, all of these by default are only readable on the server. So if you tried to use any of these environment variables on a client, it would not work. The only way you could do that is if you typed in next_public, but do not do that. Okay, do not do that unless you're absolutely okay with exposing that environment variable. They do this for a reason, because you don't want a client, somebody on their browser to basically go ahead and inspect and see what your password is. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and put my password here and close the page. So I'm going to hide my screen. I'm going to replace this with my actual password. So I'm popping my password in and I'm closing my environment file. Okay, so I close my environment file. And now I've got the credentials that I need. So now what we're going to do is create a fetch search function. So if I go to the documentation and we go to the Walmart section right here, so you can see the documentation here is so good. Their documentation, honestly, it really does make life easy. You can see a bunch of different languages are supported, and this really is all we need to go ahead and do. Right, so here you've got the import fetch, you've got the username, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the Node.js example, for example. So this is honestly what we're going to go ahead and map it from. And you can see here, pass true. The good thing about pass true is it returns something called structured data, and they even give you the information. So you see here, the search page, structured output. This is exactly what we will get back from the structured output. So you can build your type definitions from this, as well as the product page. So you can see for yourself exactly how it comes back, and then use that to build your TypeScript definitions. This again is why I love using Oxylabs. Okay, so we're now going to go ahead, head back over to our code. And inside the lib folder, I'm going to create something called the fetch search function. So fetch search.ts file. Okay, so it doesn't need to be X because we're not rendering anything out of it. All right, so fetch search. Now inside of here, we're simply going to have a fetch search function which takes a URL. Okay, now the URL is going to be responsible for what we're actually going to try and scrape from Walmart. Okay, so in this case, what basically, if we head back over here, you can see Walmart actually has these special URLs. So if I go to the URL on Walmart, for example, and I actually go and type in something like Adidas, you'll see that it's got a very similar format, /search Q Adidas. Okay, so what we're actually doing is we're basically scraping this page for the information. Remember how similar my one looked? Look at this, guys, for shop wardrobe, for example. So if I go to shop wardrobe, all right, let's have a look. Wait a second. And as you can see, guys, very similar output and very similar loading states to what we have here. Okay, so in this case, the Adidas one, let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and use this as a scraper. All right, so let's go back to our code. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it back over there. So this is where, if you're wondering, where's he getting all this code from? That's where I get it from. Heading back over to our code, we're going to go ahead and firstly get access to our Oxylabs username and password. There we go. Miracle goes #Papa. What's up? Love, Sunny. Thank you so much, Giuliani. So that way, this is basically, remember, this is running on the server, so it's absolutely safe to do so. I'm going to construct a new URL for the search. And all this is doing, you see the queue, we're basically taking our URL as well. So that way, this URL is essentially going to be for the query parameter. So really, this is not the URL. I think we can rename that to be the search term. It's better, I guess, the search term, yeah? And then inside of the page, what we would essentially do here is go ahead and say something along the lines of const results equals await. And in server components, we can do an async top level search. And we're going to say await fetch results, and the queue is the search term. Okay. Then we go into our fetch search. Oh, I like this song. It's a tune. If you guys know this, this is like one of the old school things. All right. So we've got new URL and let's go ahead and do the fetch now. So we're going to prepare the body of our request. So if I go back over here, you can see the body of the results absolutely the same. I'm going to pretend like basically access the United States version. So imagine the scraper that's going onto the site is actually going, let's try to let him have opportunity. I'm not going to fire Jay. Don't worry. I'm not absolutely not firing Jay. Jay's awesome. All right. It's completely fine. We're good. All right. So in this case, we got the United States that we're pretending to search from. So we'll see the US version of the site, and then we've got the universal e-commerce, and we're going to pass the results. Okay. And then I'm going to do the response. Now the response is basically from here. So I'm basically copying this and using this. Okay. So everything you're about to see being popped in is from that. Okay. Like so. There we go. And in fact, here, what we can do is, I'm actually not going to do an await here. I'm actually just going to go ahead and do a then call. So we actually don't need that. You can do, remember, it's either await async or you can just do then and blah, blah, blah. It's really down to preference. Here, I'm going to go ahead and say, when it comes back, I'm going to pass the response as a bit of JSON. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the data out of it. Okay. Now from the data, I'm going to go ahead and say, if there was any results that came back, we want to return the results. Okay. So if there are any results, I haven't created the type definition yet. We're going to access the first set of results, because what happens is here is it returns all the scraped information, but the entire listing from the results is actually the first object that gets returned back if it found it. So that's why we do data.results 0. And if any error occurred, then we're going to go ahead and catch that result. Okay, so we're going to catch the result like so. Okay, now after all of this, we're going to return the response at the end. We simply return the response. Okay, so very, very simple, straightforward. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a typings file. So in this case, I'm actually going to create my type definitions to protect ourselves. At the top level, I'm going to say typings. Actually, we're going to create a folder actually called typings. And inside of here, I'm going to have search typings.ts. Okay, search typings.ts. Boom. And then inside of here, we're going to have the search result itself. So you guys can feel free. I've actually saved you the hard work, and I've created all the type definitions for you. So the reason why I've done this, guys, is basically I've gone ahead and actually looked at this and reverse engineered it to basically create the type definition. So you don't have to worry about it. I've actually made it easy. Charming Animal says, would you say that your courses are suitable for a .NET backend if I want to learn React instead of using MVC? 100% yes, because I came from a Java background, even a PHP background with modal view controllers, all that stuff. So I totally get you, dude. And I teach it in the way that is easiest in when it comes to React Next.js. So yes, head over to the second link in the description, get the course, and it's going to be an absolute win for you. All right. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and I've basically built out all the type definitions. So you don't have to worry about this, right? So honestly, at this point, I'm just going to pop them on the screen so you can go ahead and copy them yourselves. But if you're wondering, where did you get these from? As I mentioned before, I reverse engineered the results and I built it for you. Okay. So literally this is what come back. And the same with the last bit for the interface for the job. Again, this is optional if you want to have it or not. Again, all this code is available in the GitHub repo, which is available in the description. I think it's the third link in the description. It's available there. Okay. So everything is over on that side. Feel free, again, guys, remember, if you're watching this and you're enjoying it and you're finding any value, smash the like button for the algorithm to push this out to as many people. We're about to hit 300 likes as well. Okay. So at this point, we've got the job. There we go. Everything on our search typings is done. Then we're going to go back to our thing and we're going to do result, and we're going to simply import our typings result. And now if I do result dot, you see I get all my, the way that the data is structured, I get it back, which is perfect. So fetch search is perfect now. And we're simply going to export default fetch search. That way we can use it somewhere else. Boom. There we go. You read comments and a quick moment back to building. If someone says hi for me, that's it for the day for me. I love that. So look at this fetch search. Let's go back over here. So now if we go to our page, our search page, we can import it. And now this will actually go ahead and fetch the results. So let's test this out, guys. Basically, if I want to go ahead and hit save now and I type in console log results, what we should see here, if I hit the refresh button and we're searching for shop electronics, look at this, guys. Boom. Nice. It returned the content, the URL, and it has a bunch of items inside. And we even got the results. It's scraped it, guys. Let's try something else. Let's do sweet gifts for less. Valentine's Day coming up. There you go. Right now, it's actually scraping. And as you can see, look, sweet gifts for less. A different set of results came up, but it's scraping the actual site. This is absolutely awesome. Okay. So somebody says, what's the extension that makes the code stuck on the top? Oh yeah, so I forgot to tell you as well. When you're using Next.js 13, anything above, do Control-Shift-P, type in TypeScript, and I want you to click on this select TypeScript version and click on Use Workspace version. It's an awesome little hack, but it basically allows you to, if you ever forget to put things like use client at the top, it will go ahead and enforce those rules for you. So it's actually a really nice little hack to do. Okay, now with the search page down, we can actually go ahead and handle the rendering of the products. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and firstly pop out this. So again, we're going to breeze through this part because this part's not that interesting. Right, we've got the div, we've simply got a H1, a H2, and I'm going to access the results object as well. So results for the Q, which is our search term, which we got from our URL. And then we can actually say total results. Look at that. Ooh, results for sweets for less, 10,600 results. Awesome stuff. And then we're going to go ahead and render a unordered list. Okay, so rendering an unordered list, and then inside of it, I'm going to map through all of the results. Okay, so here I'm going to say results.content.organic, which is where they come through, and I'm going to say map for every single product. Okay, we're going to go ahead and basically return something. Okay, so we're going to return a list item, and then inside of here, I'm going to actually return a product object. Now, every time you map, you should always give a key. So in this case, we're going to say product.product ID is the key. Just to prove to you that this is actually there, I'm going to go ahead and say something like p tag. I'm going to say product.title. Okay. Now look at that, guys. Boom. Absolutely awesome. You can see that all the products are coming in. Let's go ahead and try for, let's say, shop toys. And as you can see, when I clicked it, it's basically blocking it until it's ready. So I'm going to show you how we can do the loading state as well to go ahead and not show that. And also notice how if I go back to this one, boom, instant, right? And the reason why, if I click on shop wardrobe as well, now when I go back, it's cached it all. So this is why it's so blazing fast for Next.js, because it's caching and this kind of stuff. Like absolutely incredible. The Isle of Man. No, I'm from the UK and I'm from London. There we go. Quick little water break. Absolutely crushing it, guys. Keep smashing that like button. Praveen goes, I'm a third year expert with BPM tool. 2 months into the course, I've already went from no idea what's happening to building my own clones. Sunny is a good teacher. I appreciate you, dude. Jay, screenshot that. That's awesome. All right, let's keep going. So at this point now you can see the caching, beautiful, works just as we wanted it. Right, and I want to mention as well, if you go to fetch search, something that I did not show you properly, that we can actually go ahead, when we make a fetch call in Next.js, we can choose to actually set up the caching rules accordingly. So over here, when we had our fetch, we can actually go ahead and type in next, and we can handle something like revalidate. And this will even do something like Next.js ISR. So if you want to go ahead and revalidate every 60 seconds, so every hour, for example, you could say 60 to 60. And if you want to do every day, and what this will do is basically after 1 hour, it will basically pop the cache and it will go ahead and do the same thing again. So basically now it's showing us the same results every single time for an hour. And then after an hour, the next person to go ahead and select that, that box will basically refetch from Oxylabs. So what you're doing is you're using the cached information up until an hour has expired, and then the next person to come on will fetch a fresh one, it will cache it, and then every person after that for the next hour will use the cached version and so forth. This is called ISR, okay, and it's actually a really effective approach to optimizing and reducing the number of calls. So if you think about it, you're not actually exhausting your Oxylabs API then, because you're only making one call an hour and then you're serving the cached results. Game changer stuff. obviously it's caching based on that search term. Okay, so the URL is the fetch basically query is being fetched. So if it's the same fetch, then of course it'll be called from the cache. Okay, so I love this song. So now we've got, for example, we've got the sweet gifts for left. We need to basically make this look like this. Okay, and obviously we're going to have a scraping loading page as well. So let's go ahead and do that. And I've made it so easy for you guys. You guys are going to love me, right? So we're going to go ahead and basically pass in the product here. So we're going to say product. We're going to create a product component. And here I'm going to say product equals, and we're simply just going to pass in the entire product. So I'm going to go ahead and create this component inside of my components folder. So inside the components, I'm going to say product.tsx rfce, create my product. And inside of here, remember I passed in the product. So we're simply going to say product. And over here, we're going to go ahead and say, let me just double check what I've done. So I want to get it right the first time. We're going to say product, and the actual type definition was organic. So you can actually feel free to rename it. But if I go ahead and say product, it's actually the organic typing. So if I go into my organic typing, it's this. So this is actually where I built it from in the type definitions. So this is the product. And now we can basically go ahead and pop it into the basically build out the product. Giancarlo goes, yo, Sonny, how is it, my G? What's up, dude? I don't know if you remember, but thanks to you 2 years ago, I got my first role. And unfortunately, that company went bankrupt last year. Oh, damn, dude. He goes, I kept pushing, and now I work for a new startup, AI startup, as a full stack engineer. Thanks, Sonny, for all the insights and everything. Papa fam. Dude, that is what I'm saying, man. That is awesome. Jay, screenshot that. Amazing stuff. That's what the Papa Fam is about. Giancarlo, I know who you are, dude. You've been here from day one. This is what I'm talking about. Papa Fam literally is here to stay. Absolutely killing it. Really, really awesome stuff, guys. Thank you so much. That's awesome, man. And I'm so glad that you managed to get a second job after that. Guys, that's why Zero to Full Stack Hero, this is what it's about. This is literally what the team is about. Head over to the second link in the description, jump into our course. That is the place to be to go ahead and learn and crush it as a developer. Okay, so next up, we're going to build up this product. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to a link tag. This is going to be a link tag as well. The actual product itself is going to eventually take the user to the product page. Okay, so how I do that is it's going to be the /product page. The query is going to be the URL, and then the actual this is going to be product.url. There we go. Okay, so this will be /product, and it'll basically build this. It'll say URL equals blah 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 blah, which is the product URL. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the music again from the beginning. There we go. Nice. Guys, let's actually try something different today, right? So Jay, when he edits a lot of the videos, actually picks out some tracks. So I want to listen to his playlist. This is kind of a cool, different change, right? So let's just see what Jay's music like. And you let me know. Right? I actually really like it as well, right? So in this case, you guys can give Jay a rating here on his music choice. Okay, so in this case, we've got the product here. So I'm going to go ahead and render in the images as well. So if I go ahead and hit save, and we pull in my product here. So product, there we go. Now what we should see, like product, that's perfect. Right, obviously it's not what we want it to say, but we're gonna go ahead and do this. Hey, Jay goes, oh, let's go. Amazing stuff. Papa Fam is forever. I love that. That's absolutely it. Right, so here, someone says, please do a MERN stack course. Literally Zero to Full Stack Hero covers MERN. It doesn't just cover like one thing, it covers MERN as well, honestly. Okay. Oh, this is sick. All right, so in this case, we've got the image component. Okay, so we've got this, boom. And now here, I'm gonna go ahead and pop in the image, product, and so forth. So basically, check this out, boom. And now what we should see is it's gonna complain because I need to basically safeguard the Walmart images, because obviously we're scraping from Walmart. So I need to say that it's okay to render those images out as well. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and pop in the following, these ones right here, boom. There we go. Head back over, refresh, the server will restart, and then we can continue on. There we go, the sweet gifts for less. You can see we can start seeing some sweets. I've got the P tag for the actual product itself. So that will be able to pop in just a second as well. So refresh, look at that, we got the product itself, the currency, the price. And then I actually want to firstly, I want to start styling it as well, so it's not kind of crazily flying in. So I'm doing flex column, relative, if we've got anything absolute inside, border. I'm going to say round the corners off, so rounded, MD. We're going to say height of full, padding of 5. I actually really love this comment. Babatunde says, Sunny's live videos are also served as a Keeping Up with the React Next.js ecosystem show. In case you didn't know, he works with the latest React Next.js stuff. I'm sure you noticed that already. Dude, I love that comment. Thank you so much for sharing that as well, because that is really, really, that's the truth. Yes, I'm 100% trying to keep up with the ecosystem. And this is exactly what I do in 0 to Full Stack Hero, by the way. So it's all about constantly keeping you at the forefront of the tech stack, so that way you've got that edge at your workplace and you can provide more value as a developer, hence pushing yourself in your field or your career, right? Minoli says you would not want your environment variables and password to end up on GitHub. How do you handle that? You basically create an environment.example file with the keys only and not the values. And then when you pull it in, you basically would share the values if from a trusted team member or use an external service. Yeah, and you would definitely make your environment files a part of your git ignore. So you do not commit or your environment files ever. Okay. So in this case now, boom, we've got this. Okay. And then we're going to have the actual, I'm going to render through the product badges as well. So this is kind of interesting here. So I'm actually going to import the badge from Lucid React, and anything that has a kind of on sale badge. So if I go ahead and type in, for example, Adidas, let's go ahead and search for Adidas, and some of these will have a badge. So you can see here, there's a little badge there, but that's not the badge that I wanted actually. Oh, Jay, I like the music, dude. This is good. Okay. Oh, so it's not that badge actually. It's not from Lucid React. It's from Shadcn. So we actually need to use the Shadcn badge. This one here. Oh, Jay, add these to my playlist. This is sick. Okay, here, MPX. So you want to add the badge in over here, and then that's the badge that we're using. Yes, I was wondering, it looks very strange. So you're gonna pull it in from the UI badge. There we go, boom. And now you can see, look, in 100 people's carts, amazing stuff. So look, reduced price and so forth. You see the little badges? Boom, really nice. Okay. Oh, I think Jay's playlist is top of mind. You know, this is good. Jay's making a strong comeback on this stream. Okay, next thing you know, we've got the product rating. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to rate through and just check and basically just pull out a star rating based on the product rating that comes back. So if there is a product rating, then I'll render it out. So you guys can see here, boom. You can also do another more extensive check. If there's no ratings, you could probably hide that. I'm going to leave that to you guys. But look at this. Overall, absolutely nice. Right? And it changes the grid layout accordingly. Beautiful stuff. Now, if I click into any of these, it will take me to the product page with the URL. And you can see the URL. We're going to use that eventually to scrape the product page. Okay? So, great stuff. So, now, the only problem here is that if I was to go ahead and click something, for example, shop sports, you see I clicked it and it blocks. It blocks until it's ready and it's loaded the data, and then it will show me the data. And that's okay, but it's not ideal because we want to see something as a user when it's loading. Firstly, guys, also smash that like button. We're about to smash 300 likes. Let's keep going. Okay, so let's go back over to the I'm going to go into the search page, and basically what you can do in Next.js 13 and above, so in Next.js 14 obviously, you can add in something called a loading.tsx page, and this is what is rendered as a fallback. And basically what this is doing is it implicitly will wrap our page.tsx in something called a suspense boundary from React, and then basically the contents of the fallback prop is basically what we see inside the loading.tsx page. I hope to God that makes sense, but that is what it's doing, right? So here we say RFCE and we simply say loading, and whenever we have a blocking element on the page, for example, this await is a blocking element, okay, it will fall back to loading until it's ready, and then it will show the page. So this is all done through React suspense boundaries. Okay, so in this case, boom, if we go over here, oh Jay, the music is very good. So at this point, search loading. So what I'm going to do here is I've already styled out some loading skeletons. Right, so in this case, boom, if I go to my Shadcn, I'm going to go down to skeleton, and I need to add in a skeleton loader. Okay, so skeleton loader is awesome stuff as well. Boom, I go down here and I pop it in like so. So I've added in the skeletons, and now I can simply use them where I need it. So if I go ahead and hit save firstly, that's good. And now I'm going to go ahead and pop in the skeleton. Boom, and I've actually done the hard work for you. So I actually popped it in, and I'll replace what they have here with what I have, which is this. So all I've done here is a div with a padding of 10. It says scraping results, we won't be long. And then I've basically just got I've replicated this view. Okay, so let's change that. I've replicated this view. So for example, if I click on shop electronics, you can see like I've essentially just drawn a similar sort of use case where these items will be. And you can go really as far as you want with the extender here. Now let's go ahead and test this out. So I need to basically go ahead and scrape for something new in order to see if this works. And remember, once it starts blocking, we will fall back to our loading screen with that loading.tsx file. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Let's try something like a MacBook Pro. Hit enter, and we don't see anything yet because, okay, I've actually done something wrong there. Let's go ahead and do it from here, this page, yeah? So in this case, let's type in MacBook Pro 16-inch. Hit enter. Boom! Look at this, guys. Scraping. Obviously, the actual dimension wasn't perfect there, but it's almost there. It's almost there, right? So that's beautiful, guys. Absolutely incredible, right? And if we do it again, and I type in something like, let's go over here to Shop Sports. Okay, that's immediate because it's already flash deals. Look at this, guys. Amazing stuff. Right now, I believe my gap here is actually the problem. So I've got a massive gap between everything. But you can really feel free to play with it as much as you want. But right now, I think we're good on that front. The whole point is to demonstrate to you how it's basically rendering in the loading, like it's loading the results in, and then wait for it. Boom, it's ready. Okay, so you can go ahead and really kind of change that out. CodeFun says the clear explanation and simplicity that comes with some of these videos is really amazing, easy to follow, and I recommend to any dev who's willing to scale up. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you. All right, so check this out. So that's absolutely really powerful stuff, and it really is a game changer for now. Your users aren't sitting there on a board loading state. And again, once it's done it once, you see how it's immediate. Boom, like immediate. Boom. Like so far, imagine your users come on your website and they see this experience like, oh my goodness, right? And then if they see a loading screen, okay, it's fine. They know something's happening. At least they're not going to sit there and think the site's broken. And now the next person who comes on goes to shop gadgets and boom, cached. Like imagine they come onto your website and it's this blazing fast, right? This is what websites should be like, but they're just not built well. Okay, it should be that fast. It should be unbelievably quick. Okay, and link will literally prefetch as well. So the link element on Next.js literally prefetches, and it means that when you click it, bam, it already has the page loaded. Okay, so a lot of good stuff here. Now this is raw data as well. Yes, so this is all pulling in from the actual Walmart. So next up, we have the product page. So if I click onto, for example, let's go to Adidas, and as you can see here, let's go ahead and do Adidas. Okay, and now if I go ahead and go into, for example, this t-shirt, boom, this one right here, you can see we go to the product page, but we have a 404. So I'm going to show you how we can create this, and then we're going to do the basket, and then we're golden. Okay, and then we're going to do the intercepting and parallel route. So lots to happen here. Yeah, so we're going to pretty much move pretty quickly. Giuliani says, Sunny, do you study when you're not doing live tutorials and courses? How do you stay abreast of the latest tech updates? So a combination of things. I study the latest and stuff that's going on inside of, you know, the ecosystem, as well as I actually go ahead and teach it inside of weekly coaching calls in Zero to Full Stack Hero. So honestly, I show you the process of me learning, and this is probably the reason why you need to be in a community like Zero to Full Stack Hero. Second link in the description, because I show the realistic part of the learning journey, which is most valuable, because if I get stuck, you see how I overcome it. And that's what isn't shown in perfect YouTube tutorials or you know, Udemy courses. None of that stuff is shown. All that you see is the perfect ending. You don't see when I get stuck. You don't see those things unless you're in those weekly coaching calls. That's where I'm able to dedicate the time. Honestly, 3-4 hour coaching calls every single week, where I go ahead and show you, okay, now we're going to learn this and I'm going to get stuck, and I'm going to show you for the next 2 hours how I would figure this out. That's where the ultimate value comes in. Okay. That's why we do what we do, and that's why Zero to Full Stack Hero is the ultimate course to be a part of. Okay, so perfect stuff. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new product page. So let's do a product page for product. We're going to have a page.tsx rfce, and this is going to be the product page. Boom, hit this, and now you can see, look, it does no longer says a 404 because it loads the product page in. Perfect stuff. Now inside the product page, we're going to go ahead and do the following. So over here, we actually have the, again, remember we passed in the URL. So the same principle, we get the URL from the search params. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. And you might be wondering, you know, sometimes I can destructure this and blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I like showing you all the options. So that way you get a bit a mix of the different things. But if you're in a company, I tend to basically would say stay consistent. If you basically was destructuring it here, then stick to that, right? Don't kind of mix the two. But if you want to kind of have it separated out into external props, that's fine as well. But we've got the URL now. And then what we're going to say is we're going to say const product equals await. So that means this is a server component. So we're going to make it an asynchronous function. And we're going to create, just like we did for fetch search, we're going to say fetch product. Where in this time, we're going to pass the URL in. Now, this fetch product, you guessed it, we're going to create it inside of our lib folder. And we're going to go ahead and say fetch product.ts. And this essentially, guys, is no different to the fetch search, except for the response object that will come back. Okay, so very sort of similar approach here. So if I go to my fetch product page now, boom, fetch product, we're going to create the signature, boom, there we go. I've actually created product typings. So again, I'm going to prepare you for that. So inside of the typings folder, we're going to type in product typings. And remember what we did last time? I showed you what came back from Oxylabs. So if we go to the product page structured output, from these results, I was able to basically rebuild the typescript definitions. Okay. So this is awesome. Julian says, I hope to someday get close to your level of skill. I'm a member of the course. Awesome stuff, dude. Good to see you. I've been completing a few courses in Scrimba to have solid fun. I know you teach it as well. Thank you. And yes, you will. Honestly, it just takes practice. That's all it is. It takes practice. Do not worry. Okay. Let's keep on going. So in this case, for the product typings, I'm going to go ahead and show you the same thing, right? So I've gone ahead and built these out for you. Oops. No, I didn't do that. I've gone ahead and built these out for you. So you can really feel free to just copy these and you know, pause it as you wish. So in this case, we've got the product, and then I've got the different type definitions. And honestly, I'm going to copy everything in here. All the code is available in the GitHub repo. I'm going to scroll through it, and you can basically pause the video if you really want to see it for free and you can't be asked to get the GitHub repo. It's fine. Okay, there you go. But obviously, it's all available in the GitHub repo. So I've done the work for you for the typings. So let's go back now for the fetch product, and let's complete our fetch product step. Okay, so first things first, we need to go ahead and prepare ourselves with the username and password and the URL. So walmart.com, and the URL is actually going to be the one which is scraping from the product page. Now, what I do as a debug step is I actually include a little console log which is scraping, and then that way, if anything goes wrong, you can see exactly where you slipped up on. So I know a lot of you might do this / and then it does a / because the URL already had a / inside of it. So sometimes it just helps out to basically root it, console log it out, and then debug your issues. Okay, again, we've got the same thing. We've got the const body, which is this. We're scraping from the US, and then we're going to go ahead and fetch. So all I'm doing here, guys, the exact same thing as I did before. Okay, so I'll break it down for you so it's not just one big chunk. We've got the response object, which is going to go ahead, and it's a post request. It basically uses the username and password with the authorization to go ahead and make sure that we are authorized when we go to Oxylabs. Again, here as well, I'm going to do next, and I'm going to do incremental static regeneration by saying that I want this to basically revalidate every, revalidate. Okay, 1 second, sorry. Revalidate, and let's just say every hour. Okay, so every single hour for the product. Actually, to be honest, let's just say every day. So 60 seconds, 60 minutes, so that gives you an hour. Times it by 24. This is for 1 day, every day. Basically refresh the cache every 1 day. Okay. And that means that basically this is what known as ISR. Okay. And then someone says, any reason for using interface and typings? Yes, because interfaces can extend each other. So it's kind of cleaner, put it that way. We didn't do it there, but yeah, it's just, you know. And then basically after this, I'm just going to basically pass the then response, catch any errors, and return the response accordingly. So let's do that right now. And you can see product content, we pull in from product typings. So I'm just checking if any results came back, exact same thing as we did before, except the product content includes this information. Okay, really nice. So check this out. So at this point, we have the fetch product, and then we want to simply go ahead and export default the fetch products. That way we can go ahead and access this function inside of our page. So we do that. And now if I go ahead and console log the page, the product, sorry, it will come up inside of here once it fetches it. And you want to make sure that this point is working. So at this point, I've clicked on a product. So if we go over here, I've clicked on the Adidas product and boom, I have all the items here. So first things first, you can see it says scraping. So my debug code. So if I click this now and I click open, you'll see right now, this is the page from Walmart. Okay. So I want to highlight this. This is the page from Walmart. So what we did is we basically used this URL to scrape. So if you're not getting that and you're not seeing the URL that you generate reaches the actual Walmart page, then obviously your scraper will not work because it will not be finding the correct page to scrape from. Okay, so you need to make sure it's correct. And then obviously afterwards, if you've correctly fetched from your fetch product function, your product will then go ahead and show all the details. And look, you can see we've got the images, the rating, the seller, the different variations, including the colors, the breadcrumbs, the descriptions, out of stock, free delivery specifications, a bunch of cool stuff that we're going to go ahead and build the page from. Okay, so you can see quite nice, right? Quite nice. Now for the product page, we're going to literally start building this thing out. So I want to also have a little defensive programming statement. I'm going to say if there is no product that was returned, we're going to say return. And there's something called the not found function in Next navigation, and this will return a 404. So basically, if the product did not exist, which could happen, say somebody tried to break your website, go to, you know, a fake product page, then it would simply not find the product because it wouldn't scrape it, and then you wouldn't be able to go ahead and you'd see a 404 instead of like some empty page. All right, that's what we want to do, control those corner cases. So over here, we're going to have a div, and this is going to first have the product. So I'm going to get my designs up right now, our PDP, which I like to call it. So our product page. Now, I actually haven't got a screenshot of the product page, so I'm actually going to showcase it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up my product on the other terminal. So this is the actual 3001. I've got it running right now. I'm going to go into an actual product and I'm going to take a screenshot of it, and we're going to work with this. Okay. So boom, there we go. Great stuff. I'm going to, all right, I'm going to save this quickly as a screenshot and open it up on my computer. So give me 1 second, guys. Okay. Good stuff. Now, imagine this is our designs. There we go. Happy days. We've got our design there. So this is our design that we're going to do. We've got our, sorry guys, you can see it. This is a design that we've got. We've got our pictures on the side, a nice scrollable carousel, and then we've got the information over here, which has got some tables and all that good stuff at the bottom as well. So if I show you actually again, on 3001, I've got my actual production one running. So in this case, boom, you can see at the bottom here, we should have the add to cart, all of this stuff as well. So I'm going to build all of this right now in our product page. Okay. So what I want to do is firstly, I'm going to go ahead and actually have, and what I'm going to do actually is just pop this out over here as well. Boom. So this is the production version. So you can see this is what we're trying to get to. Okay. So first things first, I want these images on the side to show. So I'm going to go ahead and loop through them like so, and render them out. So product.images, and then I'm going to import next image and do it like so. Now, as you can see, they just simply pop out on the page. Now, obviously I want to go ahead and on a mobile view, I don't actually want to see these because on a mobile view, I don't have enough space. So on a mobile view, they should just be able to go through them, but they don't need to have the preview of the other ones. So on this side, I'm actually going to say hidden on a mobile view by default, and only on a large screen am I going to inline them. And I want the space between each one to be a 4. Okay, so in this case, it's hidden on the phone. Otherwise, it's got a space of 4. Okay, much nicer. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and give the second area. So after this div, we're going to basically use a carousel. Okay, now the carousel, it belongs to, let's go back over to our Shadcn. So, oops, Shadcn. And we want to go to our carousel, which is over on the C. Here we are. And you can see carousels are nicely provided inside. There's actually a new feature inside of Shadcn. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And it's based on the Embler carousel library. If you ever use that, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to go ahead and pop that in right now, add carousel, and it will install everything that we need. I want to go ahead and mention as well, that, guys, by the way, who would like to see a video on coding using the Apple Vision Pro? Just a heads up. Let me know in the comments down below, because I want to do a video on that. Okay, so there we go. Boom. Let's jump back over here. And you can see they've got a lovely little example use case. And it's very, very simple to go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and do the import statement at the top. So import everything that we need, boom, at the top. Go over here and simply pop in the carousel. And then we're going to customize it as we need to. So that's the first step. And you can see the carousel items render in. Now, if we look at this, you can actually see that it's there. Right, and that you can see I'm swiping through it, I'm swiping back away from it and so forth, right? So obviously that's not ideal right now. What I want to do instead is basically render out the product images themselves instead of the carousel item. So where we've got carousel item, I'm going to basically cut this out, pop in my product images. So I'm looping through everything, and where we have our image, we have to give it a key, obviously. In this case, you can give it the image as well, the image dot, that's actually going to be the image itself. So in this case, I'm just going to use the index, which is not ideal, but you can go ahead and find a better key if you want. In this case, we've got the P1, and then we're just popping in the image, right? So now you can see, look, really lovely, right? Absolutely great. And you can actually make this loopable as well if you really want to. So if I wanted to actually get this, you can pass in something called ops, and here I can say loop. Yeah, and loop can be true. And now you can actually continuously loop through. Right, and you can see right now it's kind of taking up the full space of the page as well, which is not ideal. We'll fix all that in a second, but you can see for a glimpse this is good. Okay, so very, very simple to get that off the ground. I want to customize this this as well though, so it doesn't go like huge big, right? So I've actually done the hard work for us. I'm actually going to go ahead and pop this in, and I'm not going to explain too much about what the styling is here. You can feel free to check yourself, but I basically got the perfect styling across the different things now. So on the small screen, you've got a nice little clicker here, and these are actually just determined by this carousel preview and next. And then on the large screen, I want to use up more space, but I want it to align itself self-start. Now, that's not going to take effect until the surrounding div is actually a flex container. So we can go ahead and apply that now. So I'm going to say right now, by default, we want padding of 4. So firstly, you have a little bit of padding on the outside. On a large screen, padding of 10. I want to make this a flex column by default on a mobile view. So by default, you see on mobile it's flex column. However, on a large screen, it should be flex row. Flex row, and the width should be 4. Now, if I go onto a, now you can see it's flex row as opposed to stacking. So this is great. This is actually what we wanted. And this is looking much more along par with what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so that's looking good so far. So at this point now, we've got the carousel and the styling is great. Underneath the carousel, I want to have the last bit, which is actually the product itself. So we're going to have the container, which is here. So imagine the container now is at the bottom here because I've got flex column for a mobile view. And remember, flex row for the side view. So you see how we've done this. And it's worth mentioning as well that I did self-start, because if I don't do self-start, and say for example I do self-center, you'll see here that this, okay, so it won't actually take effect there, to be honest, so it's fine. But yeah, the point stands that flex column on the mobile view, flex row on a smaller view like this, and so forth, okay? Now, let's fill this up with the actual product details. So slowly, we've got the product title. So let's put that in first, boom. And you can see, look, on a mobile view, comes over there, on a smaller view there as well. And obviously you can go ahead and actually, you know, make this a bit more generous, make this smaller if you need to, and so forth. For example, here it's a little bit constrained. So we could probably go ahead and change this to be, for example, let's do 2/5. Okay, so it's actually on the large screen where it's playing with it a bit more. You can really go ahead and mess around with this as much as you want. You could say, for example, half the screen, or even, for example, if I said 1/4, and you can see there. So if you wanted to make it a bit more like, I guess, fair on the sort of sizing, you could go ahead and size it accordingly. Right, so in this case, there you go. That's quite cool. And then here, you know, you can really play around with it as much as you want. Okay, but in this case, I'm just going to keep it 4. Because for the majority of screens, it will actually work perfectly here. Okay, now we've got the product title. And then I'm basically going to pop in product breadcrumbs. So this is just going to be the badge. So if I pop in the UI component, so there we go. And this is going to be for all the different things like clothing, men's shirt, men's graphic tees. We're using the Shadcn badge to go ahead and do this as well. Okay, almost at 300 likes, guys. Smash that like button if you're enjoying this video. Okay, So we've got this down, perfect stuff. We've got the div. And then next up, so this is an interesting one. Now, if you only do this, if you can safely assume that the HTML that is going to be rendered on the screen is safe. So I wouldn't actually highly recommend this approach, but something that comes back is in the description of the item. So in the description of the item, you'll notice that it's actually in HTML. So I want to render the description using dangerously set in HTML. So there are better ways to do this. But however, right now for this demo, I think it's fine. Dangerously set in HTML, and we're rendering out a product description. But you're just trusting the source here by doing that. And as you can see, it renders out a list and so forth. So just be careful with that, because there is like dangers when you do that. Okay. Next up, we have the product rating. Very simply, we're just going to go ahead and pop in the rating that we had previously as well. Again, you can refactor these into their own reusable components and do the same thing over and over. It's honestly up to you. We've got the product currency, how much it is, and then we're going to have the add to cart button. Okay, so we need to create the add to cart button afterwards. And then after that, we're going to have a horizontal line, and I want to have a table. And the table is going to render all of the information about the product. So for example, the table is going to have specifications of all of this stuff. So how do we do that? Okay, so basically, Babatunde says, I always use the index as a key when rendering JSX from an array. So why is that not a good practice to do that? So this is, again, is the difference of what we try and teach inside Zero to Full Stack Hero, are the good programming principles. So with this key, basically, every single time it re-renders that list, it will re-render every item in the list because the key is not unique. So for example, if I add in 101 element, it will re-render the entire list because it basically, if the order changed for whatever reason, you see the problem there, right? So everything has to be ideally a unique key value when you're rendering out a list. So that way, say for example, we rendered 1,000 items and we introduced one anywhere in that list. Now it knows React will know if each individual key is unique, that it only needs to add in one item. If you added in another one and you didn't have unique keys, or you didn't include keys at all, the only thing that React can do is re-render the entire list. So you ideally should be using a unique key as opposed to index, because the index will change, and especially if you insert it in a random point in the list, you see all the indexes change. So then it basically says, screw it, okay, re-render everything, because that's all it can do. So ideally, it's not great practice to do that. So you want to make sure every key is a unique value, and then it will only re-render the one item in the list. Okay, so those things go a long way. Now we need to go to our Shadcn, go ahead and install a table. So in this case, boom, we're going to go ahead and pop in a table like so. So heading back over here, Kiddo TV says the best program ever. I appreciate you, dude. Let's go ahead and add a table here. Let's go ahead and close this out. Boom. And now over here, you've got a bunch of different examples. For example, here, the table, import, blah, blah, blah. So what I would do is I'll show you how I would do it. So I take the table, basically pop in the code there, and then I would take this and I'll just reverse engineer it to how I want it. Okay, so basically take it here, underneath here. Before I even put that in, I'm going to say H3 specification. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in this. And now I've actually modified it a bit. So basically I've taken the code example that they gave and I've just changed it up. So I've changed it up to have a table header, specification value, and then where they had table rows. So in their example, they had a table row with a bunch of things inside. I've just gone ahead and changed it. So we've mapped through the specifications, and for every single specification, it will render a row with the spec key and spec value. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now and see. Look at that, boom. And look at that, guys, straight off the bat. So quick and easy to get a nice table view. And just like that, so clean. Okay, in fact, here I want to do font bold because I want this one to be bold. Look at that. Oh, nice. So clean. Babatunde goes, thank you so much, Sunny, for your well-explained answer. You're absolutely welcome, Babatunde. I appreciate you. It's a very good question as well. Yeah. So look at that, guys, looking great. And look, just like that, we have a PDP, a product page, right? Amazing stuff. Okay, so I want to show another thing now. What happens when this page is loading? Okay, so remember that same example we had previously. So if I go Adidas over here, boom, and let's say I click on boxing gloves, it's freezing because it's blocking, it's loading, and it's scraping the data, and then it shows the page, which is good. I mean, it works, right? It's great for scrapers, SEO purposes, but I want to show something when it's loading. So again, what we do is we head over to the page. Oops, don't do that. We head over to the product page. We simply add a loading page. That way it will, whenever it hits that fallback on the React suspense boundary, we can go ahead and render something here. So oops, do not do what I just did. That is horrible. Do loading. and then go. Jay, I am actually a huge fan of your playlist. I will admit, you've done well here. It's very vibey. I like it. All right, so in this case, where we have the product, yeah, so I've actually saved you a bit of work here. Again, we're gonna rely on the skeleton here, right? And then I basically shaped the product page. So you can honestly, pause the video at this point and just kind of, rebuild what I've shown you here, or create your own skeletons or whatnot. But this is essentially just shaping, I guess is the best word. It just shapes it in a way that looks like the same product page that we have here. So what I will do now is I will click on a product and show you what I've done. So you see, if I click on body spray for men, you see how it looks like a product page, and then on a mobile view it looks like that. So that's essentially what I've done. Okay, and you can hyper test this by basically going ahead and doing command inspect, click on disable cache in the network tab, and then if I refresh, you see every time it's going to refetch. So now look at that. So you can force the fetch to happen. So now, boom. And it's just a really nice overall view. So look, now your user will see something. It's just so clean, okay? So overall, super, super nice. And look, now your user will look at that and be like, okay, I guess it's loading something. So I'm not gonna sit there and think the app's broken. It's completely fine. So let's do a full stress test now. And obviously I'll show you the code again. So this is what we just went ahead and popped in. So you can feel free to create your own. That is what I did. The code is available in the Papa GitHub repo. Let's say I typed in a football. Scraping the results for a football, it will show us a loading indicator. Let's go ahead and say I click on the New Orleans Saints game used for, let's do this one because it's got a bit more reviews. Click it, boom, it's loading information right now. It's actually scraping Oxylabs. Boom, it pulls in all the data, specifications, and there you have it. Amazing stuff. And obviously I haven't used every single attribute that came back, such as, out of stock and all that kind of stuff, like even the variations, out of stock, free delivery. You can feel free to add those. Honestly, extend these builds as much as you want. I'm just showing an example of where we can go with it. So at that point, great, right? It looks really good. Now we're missing the functionality of the add to basket page, the basket functionality and all that stuff as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. A quick little water break before we carry on. But guys, we're doing amazing for time. We're making great progress. And right now we have the following to look forward to. We're going to add the add to basket functionality, the basket page itself. And then I'm going to show you how you can intercept the route and use something called parallel routes to simultaneously render in a modal pop-up. Yeah, this is awesome. Trust me. Yeah, to go ahead and actually do a really cool thing. And I'll show you a little demo of that in just a second. Okay, so let's go check it out. So this is the final version, by the way. So this is going to be the final version, and this isn't built yet. So you can see we're going to do this where you add to cart and basically show your quantity, and then it will intercept the basket route. And you see what it done there? It basically intercepted it, and we rendered this modal instead. And if I click it, I can go back, and that way it's not interrupting the user's flow. However, if they went directly to the basket, so for example, let's say they went directly to the basket page, boom, they see this page. Oh, lovely. Right. Whereas if they're on a page, they're browsing, and then they click it, for example, boom. Okay, I actually want to change it to 2, boom, carry on searching. You see how that experience is a lot better than just directing them away. They have to go back and all this other stuff. So we're going to go ahead and that music dropped during the water break. I know it's time. Whoa. Okay, so let's carry on. Now I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to basically incorporate the add to basket button. So we're going to create the add to cart button. So inside of my product page where I have this add to cart button, I'm going to go ahead and create a add to cart button. Okay. And this add to cart button will simply take a product. Okay. So it will take a product and we're going to pass in the product itself. Now we need to create this add to cart button. So we're going to go to say add to cart.tsx RFCE, boom. And just like that, we're going to go ahead and do it. And we're going to basically have the product being passed through, and the product is going to be the product type, right? So it's going to be the product type from product typings. There we go. Okay. Now this one is basically going to be responsible for adding to the product. Now here, let's go ahead and pop this in. So we render out something, which we're right now, it just says add to cart. Okay. So eventually this will be, accessing a piece of state, and I will explain how this is going to work now. So we have a Next.js application. Now what we want to do is basically we want to have something called a global store. Now you can use lots of things for this. You can use React context, you can use Redux, but one thing that we're going to use today is something called Zustand for global state management. Now this is actually so simple to implement, and think of it this way. Here is my app, the entire app. Let's picture it like this. All I'm doing is I'm wrapping it with a storage layer, and basically in that storage layer we can have several layers. So think of an onion, and you've got several slices to your onion. So we're going to access each slice, which is responsible for different parts. I'm going to have one slice of our global store which is accessible throughout my entire application. So at any point in my app I can access those global stores, those different slices, and I can pull information and push information, which is really powerful because, for example, we can have a slice in our store for the basket state, which will basically keep track of all the items in our basket, and we can even make it persistent. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that in literally like 5-10 minutes. So it's so easy to incorporate. So I'll show you how we do it right now. So we're going to go ahead and type in Zustand. And Zustand is basically a state management tool, which I highly recommend. It's really awesome. It works really well with Next.js. So let's go ahead and do it right now. Boom. We're going to install it into our project. So let's go and pop it in like so. Over here, npm install Zustand. While that's doing its magic, it's going to say create a store. And what I would highly recommend is you type in TypeScript. Okay, and you'll find a TypeScript instance over here. Now the TypeScript instance is the one that I'd recommend because you can actually go ahead and check it's got a persist call on it, and you can also set it up with Redux DevTools, right? Which is really handy, by the way. So this actually integrates with Redux DevTools. So if you've got the extension for Redux DevTools, you can inspect the state store. You can actually use all the Redux DevTools the way that we've typically used it in the past as well. Okay, but I'm going to not show the DevTool part of it. Okay, so with that bit done, we're going to create a store. So at the top level of my code, let's go over here and let's close it. So at the package.json level, I'm going to create a store.ts. Boom. And inside of here, I'm simply going to go ahead and pop in this example. So I'm literally going to take the TypeScript usage example, copy it over just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and refactor this all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And even here for the dev tools, I mean, you can feel free to do that. I really don't care too much about the dev tool part right now, so you can get rid of that. But for now, we're just going to keep it wrapped. So if you do have the dev tools, feel free to use it, guys. In this case, in fact, I'm just going to comment this one out. Okay, I'm going to comment that out for now. Okay, so this will work with the Redux DevTools. I highly recommend you play around with it and check it out. But this will persist in local storage as well. So what does that mean? It means that typically your global store will just disappear, but this means that it will basically create like a cookie, which will store your basket contents as you update it. So if you came back to the page and refreshed, you don't lose your basket. It's already going to be there on your machine. Okay, now where it says bare state, I'm going to refactor that and call that the cart state. All right, so in this case, we've got one store and we're just going to have one simple thing inside of it. Now I'm going to have a cart, and inside my cart, I'm going to have a product array. Now the product we're going to pull from product typings. So the cart is going to consist of that. Now we're going to have two functions that are going to work. One is going to be the add to cart function. Now what this will do is it will take a product, right? It'll take a product and it will return nothing. And basically that will be responsible for adding something to the cart. We're also going to have a remove cart function, remove from cart function. Okay. Then we're going to say use cart store as well. So we're refactoring it all. The name, we're going to go ahead and say shopping cart storage. So it's going to be shopping cart storage is the name. And then here we've got the actual state itself. So this is freaking out because right now we need to basically give the following functions: cart, add to cart, and remove cart. So initially the cart is going to be an empty array. Okay, then we've got the add to cart. Now add to cart is basically going to, we have this set function here, and we also have a get function as well, right? That we can pull in. So the add to cart is essentially going to go ahead and this is actually perfect, I think. State.cart.product. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. So this is actually exactly what my code looks like right now. So we're going to set the cart to basically the existing state, and we're modifying the cart object by basically creating a copy of the existing cart state, and we're basically appending the product to it. Okay, so that's whenever we add to the cart, that's what we're doing. Now the remove to cart, little bit different. Okay, so the remove from cart, if you do the approach that it gives here, that's gonna remove every single product, which is not what we want. So this is why I say don't trust ChatGPT blindly, or Copilot blindly. It's just not always correct. So now what we're gonna do is, when you try and remove a product, we're gonna first try and find the product by basically getting the cart. This is the current cart in state. We're going to go ahead and find an index. We're basically looping through, and we're checking if the SKU, so the SKU is like the ID of the item. If the SKU matches the product that we gave, then we've got a index. Now we'll basically return the first element where it finds the index, right? Then now that you know the index, what you can do is you can basically go ahead and set the state and splice out the existing item in its place. So what does this mean? We're basically going to say set, and then when we tried the set function, we're basically going to go ahead and create a new cart. Okay, so a new cart, which is a copy of the existing cart. Then we're going to splice out the item to remove. So what this does is this directly manipulates the new cart object. Again, I cover all of these functions inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. I have dedicated videos explaining the splice object and things like that, but splice actually manipulates the new cart object. And it basically goes to the index where we found the product, and it goes ahead and removes one item from that point, which will basically splice it out, right? So it gets rid of it. And then what we do is we replace the cart with the existing cart. This follows the immutable pattern, whereby we're not replacing our store with we're not modifying our store. We're just copying the object, modifying that copied object, and then we're replacing our cart with that cart. Really, really much better, okay? And if you really want to go anal about it, you can go ahead and do the following, okay? But don't do that. All right, so in this case now, this will basically allow us to add items to the cart and remove one of the item from the cart. So we've got everything that we need to now go ahead and basically use our cart store. So how do we consume it from the client? Well, if we go to our add to cart function, what we can actually do now is we can actually go ahead and build this out as we need to. So we're going to go ahead and make this really pretty. So first things first is how do I get access to the cart as well as the add to cart function? First things first, I need to use a hook, a use hook. So this means that I need to convert it to a client component, right? So you can't use hooks or anything like that on a React hooks on a server component. So in this case, I need to grab the cart and I need to grab the add to cart function from the use cart store. So in this case, I haven't exported it. So if we go back to the store, I need to actually go ahead and say export for my item here. So if I go back to my store, I'm going to export this because we need to use it, right? So here I'm going to say use cart store. And basically here you can see we basically pass in the individual items that we're trying to map to our items here. So basically this will give me the start state.cart and state.add to cart. So and that's how I go ahead and get the functions that I will need in order to do what I'm about to do. Okay. So now that we've got the functions, we can actually go ahead and consume whatever's in the cart and basically do whatever we need to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say, firstly, I'm going to have a little helper function here, which will be called how many in cart. Okay. So in this case, this will be how many in cart. And basically we already have the product of the page that we're on. Okay. So this is going to be like a helper function, which will basically check to see how many of the items actually exists in our cart from the product that we're on. So on this page, do we already have this do we already have this item in the cart? And that's very important. Okay. So what you can do here is you can actually console log the cart out as well, and you can console log how many in the cart. So here you can say how many in cart. Do this, and then you can basically just pop in how many in cart. And then because this is a client component, it's going to console log onto here. So look, array, there's nothing in the cart. How many in the cart? 0. Okay. So again, helpful things. We're going to go ahead and pop this underneath. So that way we can go ahead and help ourselves a little bit. Ignore some of these. This is from my own extensions that I have plugged in. So right now you can see add to cart and we've got nothing in the cart from here. Oops, ignore what I just did. Make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to say if there is nothing in the cart, okay, then I'm going to render out the following. So I'm going to render out a remove from cart button, a how many in cart, And then basically, so sorry, if there is the item in the cart, this obviously we haven't created. So I'm going to have a basically like a minus button. So imagine like a P with a minus. And then here I'll have a button from Shadcn with the handle add function, which I haven't created yet for the onClick. So we can create that onClick handler right here. So I'm going to create the handle function, and all this will do is basically it will add to cart and it'll pass the product in. And it says adding to cart product. So now you can see if I click add to cart, which we haven't done anything yet because it's just doing a div. So right now nothing's in the cart, so this will never get rendered. Okay, and also this will never get rendered because we're not even returning it. So that's a faulty bit of code. We want to basically make sure that we return the JSX there. So if we've got items in the cart, we can go ahead and do that. So the next thing is what's up, Zorjan? Thank you so much. Partial pre-rendering will be covered. Yes, I am covering parallel and intercepting routes in a second. So now if it isn't, basically if there is no item in the cart, instead I want to render a button which will say add to cart, and basically here I will say simply on click, okay, on click and then I'll say handle add. There we go. Okay, nice. Now you guys can see if I click it, boom, waha, I can keep on adding because we've got that done. And you can see how many in cart, 6, and I've got 9 items in my cart right now. I've got some Adidas stuff and wave runners. Wave runners, I'm assuming is this. Yes, wave runner is that. But we need to create the minus, which is the remove from cart product, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in, create this functionality now. So the remove from cart item, we can go ahead and create right now. Remove from cart.tsx, rfce, pop it in like so, remove cart. And this one is going to be very similar. Okay, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to basically pass in a product for it. So we're going to pass in the product. This is going to be a product of type product. So product of type product from our product typings, boom. Okay, and then we're going to convert this to a client component, use client like so. And then in here, we need to get access to it from the use cart store. So we're going to do the same mapping that we did previously, import the cart store. Now we've got access to our remove from cart. Now notice how if it's singular, we don't do that array approach that we did a second ago. Now we just do a singular return like that, okay? A lot cleaner. We're going to have a click handler called const handle remove. And this is going to essentially just do the opposite of what we did with the add. Okay, so it's basically going to say removing from cart, and then it will trigger our remove from cart functionality. And then instead of rendering this out, guys, we're going to simply render a button. And this button is going to do a very simple act of, it's just going to have a minus because it's only going to render if it's actually ever called. I'm going to give it a background of Walmart. I'm going to say hover will be, hover will be background Walmart, and it's going to be 50% opacity. And the onClick is simply going to be, it's simply going to just do handle remove. And just like that, we have a remove from cart button. So if I go back now, pull this in like that, and I'm just going to style also my button. I've done the same bit of styling here for that. And now guys, check this out. If I go back over here, we don't actually need the P tag there, so we can get rid of that. Boom. So just like that, right? If I go back and hit refresh, it's going to go ahead and pull it. Look at this, it's fetching, goes down. We've got 6 in there. Remove, aha guys. And if I check out my inspector, you should be able to see, let me go ahead and show here. If I click on the remove, look, removing from cart, the product itself, and then you can see the actual cart contents. How many in cart? 3. Remove from cart, remove from cart. And if we don't have any in the cart, add to cart, add to cart. Look at that, adding to cart, boom. Absolutely awesome, right? This is exactly what I'm saying. This is what you want to do. Really, really clean. Okay. So just like that, we have our add to cart functionality booming. That's really, really beautiful. Right. And that way, that's how you make a dynamic one button add to cart solution, which some of you might have been wondering in the past. How do I do that, Sunny? How do I have a button that's dynamic like this? Well, that's how you do it, guys. Now we need to basically plug that value into our header. So we can go ahead and pull it in from the header. Okay. So in our header right now, we go back to our header and we can go into the top and we can basically get access to our cart. So you see, the whole reason why a global state management tool like Zustand is so handy is because we can go ahead and access any of our state at any different component. So our basket is a prime example here, our cart, right? So in this case, what I can do is I can go ahead and boom, use cart store, get the cart value itself. Now I'm going to create a helper function called get cart total. I'm going to go ahead and create that function inside of my lib folder. And this is going to be used to basically calculate, it's going to be a reduce function just to simply calculate whatever I have in my basket, the contents, the amount, okay? So inside of lib, I'm going to go ahead and create a function called getCartTotal.ts. And this function is simply going to be responsible for, it's going to take an array of products. Okay. It's going to go ahead and, so for the array of products, we're simply going to go ahead and do from the product typings. So it's going to take a array of products. Now I'm going to use something called a reduce function. So we're going to get the total. And what I'm doing is I'm getting all the products. I'm going to do something called a reduce. Now in a reduce function, you basically have two arguments. You have whatever it starts with. So in this case, ours is going to start with a value of 0. And then it's going to map through a bunch of times and do something called an accumulator function. So in this case, what we have is we have our first thing, which is an accumulator. Okay. So the first thing is something called an accumulator. And the initial value of this accumulator is 0. Then we have each item that we map through. So in this case, this is going to be the current product that we're mapping through. Okay. The current product is going to be of type product. Okay. The accumulator is going to be of type number. Okay. Now, when we map through every time, what we can do is we can return the accumulator plus the current product dot price. Okay. And just like that now, we're basically mapping through and we're basically starting from 0 and we're accumulating the overall price. Okay. Now, because it's a single line bit of code, you can actually go ahead and shorthand this to the following like so. You can have a direct implicit return like that. So very clean. You can even go ahead and shorthand this by just saying accumulator, and you can even get it in a single hand like that. So very, very straightforward. We have our total, and then we're going to simply return a string which says the following. I want it to basically go ahead and return always the currency as well as the product currency as well as the total to a fixed decimal place of 2. So that way we always get it in a currency format. Now, if I go back to my header, I can use this. I can go ahead and say, get cart total, pass in the cart, which is a product array, and then I get the total in the form of a string. So if I head down to where I have my, here, where I have the total amount, I can just say total. And now, just like that, look at that, guys, $117. Right, and if I go ahead and add items to it, you see, look, boom, it's going ahead and accumulating. If I go ahead and remove items from it, boom, it goes ahead and does it accordingly. So just like that, now we've gone ahead and created a perfect sort of, way to calculate the cost of things inside of our basket. All right, so really, really awesome stuff. The next step is we want to go ahead and actually show how many items are inside of our basket. So very, very simple. We already have access to the cart here. So all I'm going to do here is just change it slightly. So we say if the cart length is greater than 0, we've got a ternary operator here, which will say the cart length items. So it'll say like, 5 items. Otherwise, it will say no items. So in this case, 4 items available. Perfect. Great stuff, right? So this works really nice, guys. The next step now is to go ahead and click this and take us to a basket page where we see all of the products. Then I will introduce the intercepting route. Okay, to allow us to do it. So the next step is we're not going to do this bit first. We're going to assume that when we click it, it takes us directly to a checkout, like a basket page. Okay, so we'll do that first, and then I'll show you how you can do an intercepting route to get that extra functionality. Then we deploy it, then we're gold. Okay, so we're doing really well on timing as well now, guys. All right, so next up, and we're also about to smash over a couple 100 likes. So keep on going, guys. Absolutely incredible. So let's keep on going strong. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead inside of our app folder. We're going to type in basket, and we're going to have a page.tsx RFCE. Boom. Okay, so we've got the page.tsx, and then we've got the basket page like so. So there you go. Babatunde there goes, Reduce is one of my favorite parts of Sunny streams. He explains it in the most in his videos in the simplest form. Thank you so much, because the reduce function can be very complicated and you can do some really powerful things with it, but it's just never explained well enough in my opinion. So definitely thank you. I appreciate you for that. All right. So the basket page here, what I've actually done here is, first things first, I'm going to basically just pop in a shopping cart icon. And now this bit's actually super simple. So I've not actually done much with the basket page. All I've done here is I'm going to pop it in and showcase it. So I'm going to show you what I've done. So I've just got a div here, and ignore this last part. Okay, so right now it's just a shopping cart icon which says your cart, review the items in your cart and check out when you're ready. Okay, that's all it says. And then what I'm doing is I'm rendering in something called a basket component. And that basket component is pivotal because it's going to have all the items inside of my basket and a checkout button. Okay, so we're going to create that now. So eventually I'm going to be importing that from components basket. So go into our components, go ahead and create a basket.tsx component, RFCE, boom. We now have a basket component. Okay, over here now, this will no longer error out. We have a basket to pull in from. Okay, so now we should get rid of that error as well on our basket page. There we go. I don't know why that's freaking out. Let's go ahead and do it again. There we go. Okay. Oh, I think it's because, yeah, okay, that's fine. To be honest, doesn't really matter. Okay, we've got the basket now. So from the basket, we can go ahead and do all the logic that we wanted to do. So I want to go ahead and grab, firstly, the cart. Okay, so the cart store. So this is going to be a client component, because if I don't do this, you'll see useref only works in client components, because it basically that's just implicitly saying that, you know, this is, you're trying to use a hook here. Hook requires, you know, under the hood, it's going to have some things which like useref, use state. So you need to basically convert this to a client component. Doom, there we go. And then say hi to Indonesia. I'm a developer in Indonesia. What's up, dude? And we've even got Ethiopia in the house as well. Hey, Papa, glad to watch the latest project on the live. Can't wait to start the build with you. What's up, dude? Thank you for tuning in. All right, so we've got the cart here. Now, I'm going to get the basket total. So we've already done that part as well. So we can say basket total equals get cart total. And we're just going to pass in the cart. So boom, that's super simple. We've already done that. And now I want to get a grouped I'm going to create a group by SKU. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, remember when we basically, let's say I add in 10 of the same item into my basket. I don't want to show the same item 10 times, right? I want to show a grouped representation of that item. So in this instance, you can see here, I can simply group set. So I haven't got like the same item 20 different times. For example, if I go here, and I add in this item as well. Let's go ahead and check it out. Boom. I'm going to add to cart a bunch of times. There we go. And I'm going to go to my basket. Boom. And you can see that it's grouped it. So if I go over here, it's grouped it. So it's not showing like, you know, 4 rows of the same item. How do I do that? Okay. So I'll show you how we can do that very easily. So I'm going to create a group by SKU. Right. So we're going to say grouped. So I'm going to create this group by SKU helper function. So we're going to go to our lib folder, create a helper function called group by SKU.ts. Boom. And now inside of here, we're going to, and remember that takes a product, array of products, and it's going to return something called a record. Okay. Now a record, all it is essentially key value pairs. All right. So key value pairs, and that's all it's going to return. So it takes our cart, which is basically just an array of products, and we're going to use the reduce function once again. Now the reduce function here is going to be used in a slightly different way. So we're going to say reduce, and remember the reduce function has firstly an argument, and then it basically has whatever, let's say whatever initial state of your accumulator is. So in this case, last time we did a number, this time we're actually having an object. Okay, so an object. Now remember, we have the accumulator, which is going to be in this case a record. So accumulator, and this is going to be like, you know, a record of all of the different key and value pairs. Now the key and value pairs are going to be the object, the product ID, and then the actual product array itself. So I'll show you exactly what I mean by this. So we have the accumulator, and then we have the current product itself. So I'm going to start the music again. All right. So in this case, we've got the accumulator and then the product itself. And then every single time we loop through, I'm basically going to firstly get the SKU. Okay. So in this case, I'm getting the SKU, and then I'm going to check, right? If the accumulator does not already have this SKU in its records, we're going to add a new array for that. Right, and then I'm going to go ahead and simply push into that array the current product. Okay, so this is what's happening. So if the product doesn't exist in the accumulator, we then go ahead and create a empty array inside where, so it's got a record with an empty array, and then we push the item into it. If it already existed, it would skip that part and just push straight into the product. And then we simply return the accumulator. Okay, so now what this will do is it will take a cart and it will basically transfer it into what we need. So if I go back to this and I pull in my cart, what I will do now is I'll show you a clear representation of this by showing you the cart, and then I will show you the group itself. So I'll show you the grouped versus the cart. Okay, so now let's have a look in the console logs. So firstly, if I refresh, you can now see, okay, so this is the overall cart. Okay, so if we see here, the cart is basically, you know, a bit of a mess right now. We've got 4 items, whereas the grouped has grouped 2 items. You see the 2 different keys, and the first one has got 1 item in it, and the second one has got the same item in 3 times. So now we can basically render these out and say, okay, we've got 3 of the same item and 1 of these items. So that's how we do the grouping. So you see how reduce function can be extremely powerful. So honestly, these things are really important to know. Again, I cover all of these functions inside the Zero to Full Stack Hero. So if you don't understand how to use these functions, honestly, that's the place to be. Right? Second link in the description. Make sure you go check it out. Okay. Sunny, in the future, going to bring back some more React Native builds. I know it's the worst pain. Yes, I'm definitely going to be bringing back React Native builds. I've actually got it on my list next, so I got you covered, dude. All right, we're going to have an unordered list inside here. And now firstly as well, I'm just going to style these out quickly. So this div right here, we're going to go ahead and pop in the class name, and then this div, I'm going to give it a little bit of styling as well. This is going to have space y and then divide y of 2, which is just like a little separator. There we go, boom. And then for each item, all I'm going to do is I'm going to map through all of, so you can't just map through the groups, right? Because it's a record data type. So instead now we've got to do object.keys. So I'm mapping through all of the keys for the grouped item. So giving me the SKU, right? And then what we do is we do some stuff with it. Okay. So at this point now we have to return something. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to get the item itself, and basically we can get the item itself by going ahead and basically getting the first item in the array, because remember when they're grouped, it's going to be the same item repeated several times. And then I'm actually going to use the cart total on the grouped items as well. So we're reusing the get cart total for each individual row of items, which is awesome. So we're reusing our code as well. And then we're simply going to return a list item. Okay, we're going to return a list item, and where the key, remember you're mapping through. So the key should be the SKU. So it's going to be unique. So it's a perfect key here. And let's just type in P, for example, and let's just type in, I don't know, just type in SKU, for example, just for now so you can see something. So you see, look, 2 items are rendering out. Perfect stuff. And then we can render out the actual, you know, the nice stuff about this. So firstly, let's give the list a little bit of styling. There we go, a bit of nicer look to it. If there's an image, I'm going to grab the first image and show it. So I'm going to go ahead and show it like so. We're going to pull in next image. So there you go. The images will pop in. I've got a div where I basically render out the, okay, this is cool. Right, so I'll show you basically what we're going to do here. So I'm going to pop in the code and explain it. So here I've got a div and I've got the add to cart. So I'm importing my add to cart. And this is why it pays so well, guys, to code effectively, really, really nicely, because you could just reuse a bunch of your code. So I've got a div here with a bit of styling, and all it's doing is it's clamping. So it basically truncates after 2 lines. I've got line clamp 2. And what I'm doing is essentially rendering out the title and then the description, similar to how I did in the product page. And then I'm just rendering the add to cart button. I don't even have to worry, does it work? Because we know it works, because we built that component independently and we built it in an effective way, which is, again, scalable code, right? So now you can see here, look at this, guys. I can go ahead and add things to it. And you see how everything's re-rendering. Look at this, absolutely amazing. If I remove it, boom, it's gone. If I remove that, boom, it's gone. You can say no items in your basket. You can go ahead and feel free to customize as much as you want. But if I go ahead and use this app now, you can see everything is working the way that we expect it to. So look, it says undefined 00, so we can fix that as well. So if we go to our header, one thing I would definitely do here in the header is I would make sure if you don't have the, so in this case, we've got the total, I've got 0 items. Here I would say, cart.length, sorry. No items, undefined 0, 0. Okay, so that's because we haven't got this. Wait, 1 second. Why am I rendering that out? It's the shopping cart. It's this div, I believe, is doing that. No, it's not. It's this div, total. Yep. So we can say no items in basket. So here, really, you could go ahead and do the same thing. You could say cart.length. So we can go ahead and do so cart.length greater than 0. You can say total. And then here you can say 0 items, and you can just pop in a 0 there, really. Say no items, or you can say, yeah, no items in basket. And now if I go down here and you go to add, look at that, boom, perfect. Okay, so add a bunch of things, go back up to the top. You see, we click it, boom, we go to our basket, boom. Okay, now here's the perfect bar. So firstly, that works flawlessly. Look at that. Exactly as I wanted it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the basket component with a simple button at the bottom. Okay, so we've got the... Now underneath our unordered list, I've simply got a button. All this button does is a checkout button. Okay, so nothing special here really. It's just a button with the Shadcn UI button, bit of styling on it, and it basically just says checkout. Now, obviously at this point you can implement Stripe checkout, do anything you want to do past that point, which is, you know, up to you to go ahead and do. But the whole point of this is it just says the checkout. Now, what's cool about this is you see how, look, even that total undefined 0. Okay, so we should go ahead and fix that. So I actually believe that a better fix here would have been to go ahead and modify our get cart total here, because we've got price.currency to fix 0. So here we can actually go ahead and say if it's product.currency. So here we can say product.currency and product currency. And then what we should say is, or we can even do this, sorry, to be honest, else render nothing. Yeah, total is 0. It's fine. Okay. You can even go ahead and if you know it's going to be at a $sign, you can go ahead and do this if you wanted, for example. So I'm going to leave that for you now. Right now we're doing US, so obviously I can leave it like that. And then yeah, you go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and pop something in. Boom, boom, boom. Go back to our app. Now, here's the thing. That user experience is cool. It works, but that's traditional, right? That's how normal apps work. We want to be above and beyond. We want to do something better than this, right? So for example here, I don't want to take the user all the way away from the app and then they have to go, like, you see what I mean? Like it takes them across the entire page. What I want is functionality where we can intercept the route. Okay, so let's say for example, this is the production app now. So for example, let's say I'm here and I go ahead and add a bunch of things to the product and I want to just quickly check my basket. Actually, you know what? I actually don't want these shelves. Right, cool. Let me carry on shopping. That's way better of an experience, no? So what we can do is we can intercept the route and we can basically introduce something like a modal. And we can use something called intercepting routes and parallel routes to dynamically push this in. And remember, it still has the behavior of previously, where if you directly go to the basket page, you will see this page. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can do that inside of our build right now, because right now our build simply takes you over there, which is a bit of an annoying thing. I work at Walmart as an engineer, so I had to stop in to see this. Whoa, that is cool. What's up, David? David, look, this is what we're going to build, right? So right now, obviously, typical websites will take you away from the page when you go to your basket. We're going to introduce parallel and intercepting routes. So boom, rather than taking you away from the page, you get a nice little pop-up. And then you see that, look, rather than going that, and then if I refresh and you go directly to the basket page, you will still get the cart page. So way better for a user experience. And think about it, guys. You can have a slide out. You can have anything you want. I'm going to show it in the form of a modal. So yeah, really, you can do whatever you want here to make life a little bit easier. Now, I explained intercepting and parallel routes inside the course in depth, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can implement it right now inside of our app, so we don't have this behavior. Okay, so let's do it. So first things first, I'm going to go into the top level and I want to start explaining it a little bit first. So what we need to do is we need to firstly have an intercepting route. Now, the intercepting route is going to be positioned in something called a parallel route. Now, the way a parallel route works is basically we render it out. So if I go to my layout now, Okay, so if I go to my layout, so basically what I want you to do is also, while you're doing this, go to parallel routes in the Next.js documentation and read for yourself all of these things. But I do cover this inside of a coaching call inside 0 to Full Stack Hero. If you want to check that out, second link in the description. We've just released that coaching call as well. So I show you how to do all of this. Right now, it's important to know the way it works is if you soft navigate. So if I was to, let's go to my production build. If I soft navigate, that means if I click, so I'm doing a root click, that's called a soft navigation, versus if I hard navigate. So if I went to localhost /3001/basket, this is called a hard navigation because it refreshed the page, right? Whereas versus a soft navigation, which you're basically routing to. So they're the first two principles that we have to understand. There's two different things. Now, when you create these things, you basically, I'm not going to go into too far detail as to how it works. I'll create a dedicated video on that. But basically inside of our layout folder now, we have access to more than one thing. So children is implicitly the page.tsx. It's always implicitly the page.tsx. So we're going to create something called a slot. Now a slot is going to represent something called a modal. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pop it in here. So at modal. Okay, so over here now, we're going to go ahead and say at modal, and you see the at sign is basically how we determine slots, right? So you see this at analytics, at team, and so forth. And then inside of the layout folder, you basically pull those through accordingly. So you see where we've got at analytics and at team, you can pass those through accordingly. So over here now, we go ahead and say into our layout file, I'm going to have one called modal. And then this will basically get pulled in like so. Yeah, modal. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to position this above my div, right? So in this case, I'm going to say div, and this is relatively new inside of what's it called? Next.js. So here I'm going to have a modal. Okay, so just like that, now we have our modal. Okay, now the issue is that if I refresh and go to my home page, you can see firstly we've got an error because we don't have anything being called for the modal. Okay, well actually it's accepting it now, which is fine, but we need to go ahead and actually explain what's going on now. So firstly, nothing renders with the modal, so it's not really going to have a problem. But one thing I have noticed is that whenever you introduce parallel or intercept, more so when you introduce a parallel route, which is what we just did. So this is known as a parallel route. You want to go ahead and restart your server. They are I don't think they've fixed this yet, but there is a bit of a bug when it doesn't go ahead and actually correctly render that parallel route. So now if I refresh, it should break, or it should kind of complain. Yeah, there we go. We get a 404. The reason why is because it found children. So this is why I need you to pay attention, okay? So but think about it this way. When we load up our homepage, it knew what children was because it found the children from page. Okay, so it knew exactly how to render that. Now modal, it tried to locate this because children, it was able to match. You see it perfect. It found it. So children is implicitly the page. But for modal, it went to modal and then it was like, hang on, nothing's there. So basically it doesn't know how to render this page. So basically it gives you a 404. So you have to tell it, how the hell do you render your page? Okay. So naturally in this instance, you can introduce something called a default, right? So in this case, a default. And remember, what's cool about this as well is at this level, the app modal doesn't count as a file route. So it doesn't actually count as /modal or anything. So it's like an invisible folder, okay? So if we do at RFCE, now for the default page here, I actually don't care. I don't want it to do anything, right? So in this case, the modal should not render if it's here. So what we can do is we can simply say return, no. So return nothing, right? Now you can see my page loads because what happened was, if we go back to my previous logic, it goes over here and basically, let's go ahead and do this again. So yeah, so it found children. It found it, it mapped it to page. Same over here, found children, mapped it to page, happy days, okay? So it goes then to the modal and it says, okay, where is the modal? So it goes to modal and it found a default. So now it knows what to do and it rendered return no. So that's fine. So it knows that it's got a page that exists, okay? But what's really incredibly powerful here now is we can selectively choose when to render that modal into view. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use something called intercepting routes. which is this on the Next.js documentation. And basically you can intercept. So whenever there is a soft navigation, as I explained previously, whenever we, firstly also, bam, we hit 300 likes, awesome stuff. Keep smashing the like button, guys. Thank you so much. So whenever there is a soft navigation, what we can actually do here is we can say, okay, I want to intercept any / basket root. Okay, so what we do is we use this following notation, dot, and then we say basket. And I will show you over here. So if you go down to convention here, this will match segments on the same level. This will match segments on one level above, 2 levels above, and root app directory. So you can really go ahead and play with it as much as you want. But in this case, at the top level, so this really is the same level, because remember, as I mentioned, this is invisible. So technically this is the first level. If it was a level up, you'd do 2 dots. If it was a root, you'd do 3 dots. So I'm intercepting this basket root. Now, when I intercept this basket root, I want to render something. So I'm going to render page.tsx. Now, what I can do here, guys, is I can say basket interception. And basically, just to test this out to show you how it works, I'm going to say basket here. Okay. Oops. Basket here. Okay. Now, I want you to see something. If I soft navigate now, okay, so right now there's actually, okay, this is a bit of it's messing up a little bit. If I soft navigate basket here, you see how it caught that and it did it, right? So if I go back to, and then you see when I refreshed, so let's do that again. First things first, we're going to fix that in a second because I've messed something up. So if I go to my layout, let me just quickly fix my layout before it drives me crazy. Okay, the reason being for this is because inside of my page, I need to make this flex 1. Yeah, there we go. So I want this to take up majority of the room. But if I go ahead and soft navigate, you see how boom, look at the URL, guys. It did not change. So this is what is unbelievably powerful. It shows the basket. So / basket. And if I go back, can you see how it does that? Look at that, boom. So you can now render parallel routes in next to each other based on the root, which is so powerful because think about it. Let's say I did it on this side. You can make it slide out whenever you went to your basket. So if I click on basket, boom, slides out. I can manipulate my basket, and then you can have an X button, which just simply does a go back and then it closes it. Okay. So this is really powerful. And then what's good about it as well, say if I go to let's say I click on basket, and let's say I refresh or I send someone the / basket, no matter what, they will go there. But you can have 2 types of functionality for that route now, a soft navigation and a hard navigation, which is so powerful. Please comment inside the live chat right now if you're understanding what I'm saying and kind of getting the vibe here, because this is so powerful. It's crazy. Okay. So now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to instead go ahead and use something called a dialog. So in Shadcn, rather than just making it pop up, I'm going to use this dialog. So let's go over to my code and I'm going to install the dialog. So here, boom, there we got the dialog. And now I'm going to go ahead and use the dialog here. Okay, so I'm going to import the dialog inside of my basket. So there we go. So I'm going to pop it in there. And then I'm going to simply pop in the dialog example that they have. And I'm going to change it based on what we need. So there we go. Boom. I'm going to pop it in like so. Now, here's the thing. Mr. Frank goes, my jaw dropped. This is such a powerful technique. Frank, wait until you see what happens after I finished with it, right? So it's absolutely like, this is a game changer for dev work, right? Because now think of like the difference, and you don't block the user's journey and send them somewhere else. You can do so much powerful stuff with this. It's nuts, right? But the concept is really kind of one of those things. It takes a second to grasp, but basically we'll get there. So I want this dialog to remain open when it's in use. So whenever this is rendered, I want it to remain open. Okay. Now, when it remains open, I also want to do the following. So firstly, look at this. So you see it's not rendered, but when I click on this button, oh, are you absolutely sure? Nice. Okay. And you see, I can't close it now because it doesn't do anything. So how would I close that? Well, remember, if I went to, this is a Next.js feature, absolutely a Next.js feature, not a normal React one, right? So how would I close that? Well, remember, all you need to actually do is click back because it's dependent on that route. So if I go soft navigate, the way I close it is I just go back. Okay. So how can we programmatically do that? Okay. So very simple. Firstly, we're going to change this to a client component. We're going to go ahead and say, I need the router object. So router equals use router. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and create a function called onDismiss. Okay. And this is going to be a simple function, which basically just says router.goBack. Okay. Simple as, in fact, I'm sorry, this will be back. Sorry. Router.back. Now, all I do is firstly, I don't need the dialog trigger because we force the open. I can simply say on open change. And then basically, if it's already open, so basically this is a inbuilt function. What we can do here is we can say if it's not open, then I want to on dismiss. And I'm basically triggering out. Basically, I'm overriding the on open change. So now what we can do is check this out. So here, what's up, dude? If I go ahead and click this, now if I click outside, look at that. Look what we've overrid the close functionality to just go back instead. So boom, just like that, guys, we have the basket function. And now here's the icing on the damn cake, right? Because we coded it in such a way where it's reusable code, everything's clean, everything's, you know, the way that it should be built. And this is what I preach about writing good code. If we go to the dialog title now, and we type in basket, okay? And then here for the dialog description, let's go ahead and do a p tag and say contents of your basket. Okay, nice. And now you're probably wondering, oh, we're gonna have to build that out and everything. Oh, that's gonna be really annoying. Well, actually, because we built everything into a basket component, boom, all I do is that, hit save. And now guys, just like that, boom, I have a basket component. Look at that. Everything from my basket is there, and I can just go ahead and manipulate the basket. Now I do want to change one more thing, which is the dialog content. Is I'm going to go ahead and pop in a bit of more styling. So I'm going to say I want it to be a different size. So I want it to be a 4/5 of the screen. The width should be a 4/5 to height. Sorry, width should be full overflow scroll, and I want the max width to be 3XL. So now, boom, look at that, guys. Absolutely incredible. And now you can go ahead and check out straight from there. You don't have to disrupt the flow. If they're going ahead and say Adidas, for example, boom, look at this. I want to add this product in. I go over here, I add to cart, I add to cart. Actually, I only want one of those. So I'm going to go back, modify one, carry on, boom. Unreal experience. Like that is so good, right? So look at that. Now you don't have to mess around with it. But remember, say for example, someone's like, you send them a link, or, you know, you want to go back to the point where you go on, look at this. If you go straight back to the basket, what? Right? Because it's a hard refresh. I know Frank is crazy. He goes, what in the magic Next.js is going on? Right? Absolutely crazy stuff. So now if I go to this computer, I go ahead and I want to buy this computer. And I'm like, look at this. So I've got the computer rendering in, the images are loading in, boom. I'm like, yeah, I actually want 2 of these computers. Perfect. Actually, you know what? I don't want any of the aftershaves. Boom. I actually don't want the drawer thing over there. And screw it, let's get 3 computers. Boom. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go ahead, carry on shopping. Boom. I want to buy something else over there. Add to cart. Boom, boom, boom. And now, okay, actually, you know what? I only need 3 of those. The experience is totally game changer. And you just like completely like optimize this page to be such a better user experience. And this is honestly the difference between a average dev and someone who is at the forefront of their game, utilizing the best tech and everything. And you can see what we did there. The intercepting route was the key to basically saying, whenever you try and go to basket on a soft navigation, catch that moment and render in something else. Now, the way we were able to render it at the same point and selectively choose where that is rendered is with a parallel route. And that's where we intercepted it, and we basically were able to do it. So absolutely crazy stuff. Like, and I'll show you that right now. So again, the intercepting route was this here, this syntax is basically saying intercept that route. And we want to do something with it, okay? The app modal is called a parallel route, and we basically render it. We're saying render this all the time, but the default behavior for any page is nothing. Don't do anything, right? But when you hit that view, when you hit that route, I want you to catch it and basically render out a dialogue. Okay. Now you can do so many things with this, and honestly, you can have as many different things as you want here, and you can do really complicated things. And I'm going to go ahead and obviously make videos for this because it's absolutely incredibly powerful. Like, you can do still dynamic wildcards and say intercept 2 levels up and blah, blah, blah. You can go ahead and do things like tabs. I've even shown inside of a coaching call inside of 0 to Full Stack Hero how you can have tabs, in parallel routes. So if I go down to the example down below, you can show, where is it gone? They got a really nice example here of like, oh, by the way, guys, you can even have loading and error states for your modal. So for example, let's say there was a asynchronous element just for this. You can have a individual loading and error state based on just adding a loading.tsx or error state. And remember, what's so cool about it is it will only pre-render that in. So think about dashboards, right? Think about tabs. Think about all those things now, and you're really getting somewhere where you're like, oh my God, this is powerful, right? Mr. Frank, yo, thank you so much. $5 donation. Because Sonny, you can literally make a giant e-commerce site without even having to stock any products with this proxy. Yeah, you really could. Honestly, you actually could. Yeah. Hamid says you're the best teacher ever. Thank you so much. Soj says yes, using Next.js makes easy and React 100%. But obviously, it's about the fundamentals, understanding what you're doing, understanding truly at a core. This is how you can do things. Babatunde says this is an outstanding feature. This video does highlight its importance in e-commerce specifically. Yeah, I can honestly appreciate that as well. I think I'm actually going to create a dedicated video on this. I have covered this inside the Zero to Full Stack Hero. Again, second link in the description. GG Mock says, Papa Fam, easily the best community in the world. Hands down, Sonny, you're easily the best tech YouTuber, most amazing teacher and incredible dev. The value you offer, oh my God, thank you so much. That is such a beautiful comment. He goes, the value you offer in the world is unrivaled. Jay, can you screenshot that? That's such a nice thing to say. Thank you so much, GG Mock. I appreciate you massively. This is what the community is about. Thank you so much, guys. So with that said, this has honestly been the Walmart clone. I'm going to obviously deploy now as well, but Jay, screenshot that beautiful comment. Look, we've got the asynchronous loading that I've shown you before, beautiful loaders. We've got the ability to asynchronous load the PDP, which is a product page. We've got, responsive. We've got different components in play here, carousels being moved around. So look at this, like obviously responsive, image component is being used from Next.js to hyper optimize that. And then look at this, guys. Okay, what happened there? Okay, that's literally part of the description. So remember when I said you have to trust what comes back? Be a bit careful because sometimes they might just throw in, literally pictures in the HTML. But you can see here, if we go ahead and just let us do Adidas again. I don't know why I'm obsessed with Adidas. I think I used it so much in the testing that I keep doing it. And then obviously we've got the add to cart, which is a dynamic button. And again, all of this real time being scraped from Oxylabs. Really, really powerful stuff. Yeah. 1 second. And then I want to go ahead and click on the basket and then boom, intercept it. And again, look at this scrollable modal, beautiful stuff. And then you can go ahead and change it. Look at that, guys. Absolutely phenomenal. And you can go ahead and click checkout. Now, again, why is it so important? Because you're not, and this is the importance I want to stress. UI and UX is really important. UX meaning the user experience, UI meaning the user interface, how it's designed, that kind of thing. Now, user experience, remember, think about it this way. If you had to directly take them away from the page, you're very disruptive in the journey. So like the minute I click that, I'm like, oh, okay. And I have to then go back, and some users aren't quick on the computer. They're just not, right? Whereas in this case, if it popped up, they could be like, oh, actually, I want to change this, blah, blah, blah. And actually, cool. Okay, maybe I want to add like 3 more things, and then I want to check out. Okay, boom. You see, you're reducing the friction to them using your site, which means that you're going to get more engagement, more use out of this. Sonny, can we just add Stripe and charge people a percentage on top to shop at Walmart? Honestly, I think you could. I'm not saying it's legal. I have no intention of what you guys end up doing with this, Frank. But I guess you could. It's a possibility, right? You can do whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's funny, right? Like again, the power behind this, super, super cool. So you can really see what's capable here. Now, let's deploy this app and I'll show you how we can get things kicked off the ground. Now, the first thing I want to do is just run a simple check on my local machine to avoid any issues. So what we do here is we go ahead. Code with Guillaume, what is up, dude? He goes, my dear Sonny, how are you? I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to type npm run build to create a production build for the apps before we deploy to Vercel. How's life in Dubai? Dubai is doing amazing, dude. Thank you so much. We're growing. We're doing massive collaborations. We have huge things to come. Look at this, generating static pages. Now I want to highlight a few things. Here you can see, look, we've got generate a static dynamic pages. The product page is a dynamic page. The search page is a dynamic page. And then we've got the static basket and so forth. But it's really going to be interesting when we deploy this. So I'll show you. So first thing I want you to do is you need to install the Vercel CLI tool. So go ahead and type in Vercel CLI into Google. You'll see Vercel CLI overview, and you can install it the following way, right? However you want to do it. You deserve it, bro. Thank you for the content. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you. Honestly, really, really means a lot. So install Vercel CLI. Once you've got that, I want you to just simply log into your account. If you haven't, it will prompt you. I've already done the Vercel login, so I'm not going to do it. And then you want to go ahead and hit yes. Now it's going to ask you where do you want to deploy it to. So I have a lot of different teams and things that we do. So I'm just going to deploy to my, free account, which is fine. Link to an existing project. No project name. I'm happy to keep it the same and keep everything the default. Everything that we did during setup is fine. This will fail out of the box, and I'll show you why. So click yes, continue, continue, continue. I hit enter, sorry, for no. And now this will fail. The reason why this will fail is the environment variables are not present. So I want you to go ahead, click into it. It will take you to your Vercel. Click on the top over here and go to settings and go to environment variables. Now here you have your key value pairs. Now remember what we did over inside of our build. So if I go over to my environment variables, and I'm obviously gonna hide it because you thought I was about to slip. So what I'm gonna do here is just go ahead and show you something. So at this point, you wanna go ahead and copy your environment variables like this, right? And then you wanna go over to this and basically pop it in like so and click save. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually pop in the actual password and come back in a second. So I'm grabbing my actual password. I'm going back over to my code over here, and then I'm clicking save. So I just click save and it said added environment variables successfully. So now you can see I've got the two environment variables here. You can use Vercel environment pool to then pull them into a new project. Somebody asked earlier, is that a possibility? Yes, you can definitely do that if you're part of a team. You can pull the environment variables into your project. Now let's go back over here and we will see that it would have actually failed. Well, it says it deployed, but really that's not going to work when you actually try to use it, because it's going to try and make a Oxylabs call, which will fail. So in this case, we're going to do Vercel again, and it's going to redeploy it with the environment variables. Now, here's the thing. So we've deployed it. Yes, we will be deploying it in a second. I'm confident this will deploy. This will work. However, the problem is on Vercel, you have a free tier, right? Now the free tier gives you cloud functions, absolutely incredible, gives you cloud functions, gives you all that capability. But the issue is that if a cloud functions execution, such as, for example, when it's scraping. So when we use a server component and it has a await fetch, that is technically a cloud function that's triggering off. When it does that, if it exceeds 10 seconds in execution time, that is going to be, that is going to be past your free limit. So you then have to go ahead and change your plan from a free to from the hobby tier to the pro tier. Okay, so and that way you remove the 10-second barrier, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So right now we have successfully deployed, and I want to highlight one thing as well. Before you can go ahead and obviously see your build logs, but click deployment summary. This is the really cool part, guys. You can see a breakdown of all of your static assets as well as your functions now. So the product and search page, like I said to you just now, they are functions, okay? And then you've got the ISR functions. Now ISR, the basket functionality, the everything is going to be dynamically updating. You can obviously change this and manipulate this as you see fit, okay? But if we go ahead and click this and go into our Vercel app, obviously this is an authenticated link right now, but if I try it out, okay, so if I click on shop wardrobe, it will try to go ahead and scrape. Now the problem is it will probably come up with a client exception in about, oh no, it did work because it was quicker than 10 seconds, right? If I try again over here, if it's longer than 10 seconds, it will say client exception. Okay, but I guess it's working right now, okay, because it's not longer than 10 seconds. But if your internet is slow, mine's very fast. Oxylabs is working pretty quick right now. If I try and add to cart, boom, and look at this, guys, it's actually working perfectly. Let's try Adidas, right? The infamous Adidas hoodies that we're trying. But if it does exceed the 10 seconds, then just so you know, that is why it's failing, okay? So I want to definitely make that clear to anyone who tries to deploy it and is freaking out about why it's not working. So say now, look at this, guys, we add in, boom, if I refresh and go to a hard refresh, boom, works. Absolutely amazing. James goes at work, but we'll check it out tonight. Great energy and build, pop fam. Thank you so much, James. I appreciate you guys. That is the build. That is the build. Absolutely incredible stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do it the only way we know how to before we wrap up. But this has been an incredible build. In fact, okay, I'll do it with this one, right? So guys, today we went ahead and built out Oh, nice. I love seeing people progress. Today we went ahead and built out a Walmart clone. Fully functional, really awesome stuff. Obviously we didn't have checkout because it's a demo, okay? But the point of it is I showed you so many different concepts today. We talked about Next.js caching. We talked about Shadcn, the ability to use all these different kinds of components. Now, for example, if I clicked on shop wardrobe, you see how instant that was? Because it didn't actually have to connect to Oxylabs to scrape the data again, because we use something called next revalidation, which means that it only basically bursts our cache after an hour. So everyone's getting the cache version until that hour expires. Then it will make a call to Oxylabs to scrape the data again, right? And now if we go into a product over here, for example, it's scraping because we've never visited this page, right? And now you can see, look at these beautiful carousels, amazing stuff. We even introduced Zustand in to have global state management. So you can see dynamic buttons, how you can create something like this, reuse that button in something like another component. And also, again, notice my URL. So over, obviously in this case, notice how the URL goes from / to / basket, but then we have this dynamic modal that is popping in. And what is happening here is it is going ahead and intercepting our soft navigation to the basket route, and it's using a parallel route to go ahead and render in a modal to basically make the user experience better. Now, again, if we were to refresh and do a hard navigation, the parallel route would render just the modal instead. So this is why it's so damn powerful. Well, honestly, this is really game changer stuff, guys. I can't stress enough how cool this is that it works in this way. And yeah, all of this code is available on GitHub, and I can understand that this can be quite tricky and complex. As I've mentioned before, guys, don't overwhelm yourself. Again, thank you so much, Frank, for the donation. I appreciate you so much. But as I've said before, don't overwhelm yourself. It really can be a scary thing when you see all these advanced concepts coming into play, especially the more and more Next.js evolves. This is why we build something like a community where I can guide you weekly. As things evolve, you're going to feel like sometimes you're left behind. If you feel like maybe a month goes by, a few months go by, you're going to come back and be like, okay, I've never heard of parallel routes in my life. What is that about, right? This is why you need something which is dynamically evolving. You need a community where people can help you out. You can ask questions about what we just did, for example. I've covered this ages ago, or like a few weeks ago already inside the coaching course. So this is what I mean. If you want to be at the forefront and be at the edge of your field, be the best of the best, this is why a community like Zero to Full Stack Hero is unlike any other. Okay, I highly recommend you join today. Go ahead and check out for yourself. Here we've got all of our students. We've even got, absolutely amazing. I love Frank's comments. We've got absolutely amazing students. You've got different plan options to go ahead and join with. Like I said, weekly coaching queues, amazing popup community of over 1,000 students now. We've over 1,000 students, and we've got results, guys. Honestly, so many results. You can go ahead and check out a sneak peek for your side of some of our sessions. We've got tons of coaching calls inside. You also go ahead and get a bunch of free ebooks when you go ahead and join as well. So you can literally check it out. Somebody goes, 2 months ago, all of this was overwhelming, but now it's easy peasy. Praveen, I appreciate that comment. That's exactly what it's about. You can feel free to check out who I am here if you're new to the channel. You can see Frank. Hey, what's up? Frank is on the homepage himself, and a bunch of our people who have absolutely smashed it in the field, right? So you guys can go ahead and check it out for yourself. I do recommend, by the way, if you want to see some actual results from our students, head over to papareact.com. At the top of the website, you can simply go to the reviews, right? Hit reviews. Now on the reviews, you will literally see an unbelievable amount of real world results. This is literally what the community is about. And you don't need me to tell you, like, these people will literally vouch for the course themselves. Everyone has succeeded themselves inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. This is what it's about, guys. It's just endless list of results. These are nothing but success stories. papareact.com/testimonials. This is the place to go ahead and check out for yourself why you should join in. Second link in the description. Join something like Zero to Full Stack Hero. I mean, sorry, I've been coding for like 3 hours. I'm a bit hazy. But yeah, this is the place you need to be to go ahead and stay at the forefront of the technology, of Next.js, all the good stuff. And as we mentioned today as well, none of this would have been possible without Oxylabs. So the first link in the description will get you 30% off the providers. So with that said, guys, this has been a very, very fun build. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now with this side of things. Yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in. And as I mentioned before, yeah, we cover all this stuff inside of the course. We built Walmart today, beautiful app, shopping results. You get the dynamic functionality of everything. You know, intercepting parallel routes, amazing stuff, guys. And there's the 2 different concepts, just not to get confused, right? Just in case anyone calls me out on that. But there you go, guys. Absolutely beautiful app to add to your portfolio for absolutely free. All the code is going to be in the popup GitHub repo. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to teach you once again. I have so many builds coming up. March, I have so many Microsoft collaborations coming up. We have so much stuff happening on the channel. I'm working with the guys over at Clerk to basically bring you the best of the best in authentication. So many cool videos to come onto your screen very soon. And I'm starting a whole new mini series on different concepts in Next.js. So that way you don't have to binge watch 3-4 hour videos. You get 10-minute, 20-minute videos at your disposal weekly. I'm going to keep it coming, guys. But this has been your boy Papa React, aka Sunny, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.